Hello, everybody. Welcome to your Manchester United therapy session. We are in session. Everybody take a seat, get ready. It's going to be a bumpy, tough ride. We are going to talk about, obviously, sack Ruben, don't sack Ruben, fan base, real divided, a lot of anger. I can understand it, obviously. We're going to talk about the whole thing and what's going to happen going forward. The fan base is rightfully pissed off and disappointed. I get it. I think there's some things going around the fan base that I think is quite a bit sad, bit disgusting. Some things I think are fair and all game, and you know what? People have every right to all their opinions, but I have the right to my own opinions. And strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride, this one, but I think we all need it. We need to discuss it. We need to talk about it. And, I'm just going to be quite honest. I've been feeling like shit. Yeah. I've been feeling like absolute shit after yesterday. Just looking at sort of the response to, things that have gone on since yesterday, people's attitudes and how they're taking things and what they're saying. Listen, we're in a big mess right now. Ruben is in a big mess, and the fan base is very, very angry, and I get it. And I think I still believe there's so many bigger issues, and I still don't agree with certain things in terms of people. The way people speak in this fan base, I disagree with the fact that they believe that sacking this guy is going to fix everything and we can do so much better. I think we overrate our team, our squad. I don't think it's very good. Sanchi's here with a super chat right out of the gate and says, can someone explain the smug laugh smile, whatever Amorim did when that reporter asked about Mainoo? Well, this is why I chose to go live, because I've had certain sort of beliefs, and you know what? Things have developed very, very quickly over the past couple days. And after the match yesterday, he did two pressers. He did one for the match that we just played against West Ham, and then he did also the one that's supposed to be for Wolves. And there's been a lot of things that have said. I don't particularly like sort of some of the way he answered some of the things, like Sanchi is saying, and sent the super chat, and I appreciate it very much. But listen, we can only sort of try to speculate, sort of try and break down what that actually was about. I didn't like that response, and I guess where I'll start. And before I do start, please make sure you're smashing the like button, because it's important. Get the channel, get it pushed out. It helps us grow. It helps more Reds see it. But I guess where we can start is on Kobbie Mainoo. Now, obviously, you guys know I've been here and I've been saying, listen, I didn't think it was the end of the world if he didn't necessarily rate him. But I think there's probably two or three different things for me that differentiate. Maybe for some people it doesn't matter. But I think there is, in my opinion and in my idea, I think there is a clear difference between not necessarily rating somebody to be a starter and keeping them as a 20-year-old and having them be a substitute. I've played the game not at a professional level. I've been a substitute at times. I've started at times. There's been times where I don't get the game time I feel like I should be getting. There are times that I do get the game time that I feel like I deserve, when I used to play. So I kind of understand a little bit of all aspects, and I do know that, times where I was a substitute and I felt like I should be starting, and I wasn't starting. But I do know the difference between, listen, when I was a substitute, I was getting game time and I was given opportunities and I was given chances. And I wasn't a starter, but I was pretty much the first one off of the bench. So I was still getting opportunities. Now, Ruben is very erratic with this, and it's a bit hard to nail down. I can see why some people think that there's some sort of personal vendetta or that they hate each other. It seems very weird. From Ruben's mouth and his perspective, he's telling everybody, and this is whether you want to believe him or not is up to you. But I'm just saying this is his answer to this. And he's telling people that it's not a personal thing on the surface, basically. Essentially what he said is not a personal thing. It's just he is making the choice that he believes is the best choice by picking the best players, and therefore it's not Kobbie Mainoo. Now, again, it's one thing if you're not a starter and you are sort of the next man up, the sub. But it's been really erratic for that, because for you to come on against Everton, if the manager doesn't rate you, I don't think you come on. I don't think he uses you. We've seen this guy throw people out of the team. So I don't know if it's necessarily that he hates Kobbie Mainoo. I think some people are trying to paint like that he totally hates Kobbie Mainoo. I think there's a difference between hating somebody and not preferring them over another player. I think there's a difference. I might be wrong. Maybe you guys feel differently about it, but I think there is a difference between that. Now, I don't think you get put on at Everton and he hates you, and then he doesn't pick you for the next 2 matches because he hates you. I think what is happening is, like he is saying, he is making the choice that he believes himself. It's not the right choice. It's not the choice that's working. He is making the choice that he believes is the best possible choice for the team to win. And he's doing it from match to match. And that's the only thing that can logically explain this to me as to why in the Everton match, he would choose to put on Kobbie Mainoo at around the 50th something minute, and then go into the next 2 matches, and his perspective, based off of the perspective of the match, he decided not to put him on because he didn't feel like it was best for what the team needed at that time. This is not saying that he's making the right call. This is not saying that he's getting it right. This is his point of view versus the fans' points of view, and what is going on in this sort of, debacle right now. So to try and answer Sanchi's, the laugh thing, it came off really bad. And unfortunately for him, he didn't do himself any favors because he didn't really explain it. He sort of skipped over the question. I feel like the laugh was because he in his opinion, he's sort of tired of being asked about Kobbie Mainoo. And he's been trying to give the answer, but people aren't really listening to him because they don't want to accept his answer because they don't think he's right. And it's one thing to not think he's right. It's also another thing to completely ignore what he's saying because you think he's wrong. And I think that's why he laughed. Because for me, it seems like he laughed because the media has been asking a lot about Kobbie Mainoo. And the media, to be fair, the media are doing their job because they are relaying what the fans' concerns and talking points have been for numerous amounts of weeks now. So they are doing the job in terms of they're asking the questions that the fan base are talking about. And we want the answers to it. So I think that's what it was. But it came across very bad because it looked like he laughed at the idea. And maybe he did. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. But it looked like it has the appearance of he laughed at the idea that Kobbie Mainoo is considered an attacking player. And it came off as he kind of scoffed at the idea of like, why would I put Kobbie Mainoo on? He's not an attacking player. And why would you think that would help us in a certain way? So that's gone 2 different ways. I think it's gone heavily against him. But I think there's some people out there that are seeing the other side of it. But let me get to the chat, and I'll jump back into my thoughts. Richard's here, Lyle is here, Axe is here, Sanchi is here, of course, Lawrence Burry is here. Let's start hitting the chat. A massive cloud has come over United in the last 24 hours. It has been brewing for a while now. It absolutely has. I mean, but this is what happens with results, man. This is football. You know, it can be looking quite good 1 week, and or you know, a couple matches ago and a couple matches later, especially in this you know, this season, in this league, in this table, and you know, after a couple results, it can start looking quite dark. And you know, this is just the nature of football. It's happened before, and it'll happen again. Lyle says, sadly, Amorim is cooked. Well, I kind of feel that way. I'll get to that in a bit. Richard says, I just don't know where we're going right now. I think that's valid. I think many of us don't really know what is actually happening and what's going on anymore in this sort of sense. I feel a bit lost. I'm going to be quite honest. I haven't felt this lost, and I haven't felt this disappointed and just let down by this football club in a long time. And again, for me, the conversation always, you know, we can talk about the manager, but for me, the conversation has to go above the manager as well. And for sure, because there's a lot of problems that lie there. And if we just keep directing our full energy and full focus on just managers and even just players, we're not going to go anywhere. This club will not go anywhere, and you know, we're not going to get anything out of our club. Sanchi says, don't you think the gesture, what he made against Mainoo, is such a dark side of the club? Are you talking about what kind of which one? Are you talking about him laughing? Are you talking about him not picking him? Are you talking about him subbing him in the 90th minute, the previous match? You know, there's a couple that you could probably lay that over. So, Lawrence Burry says Ineos is indecisive, and they have a pattern now of giving a manager 2 calendar years. Well, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's not necessarily indecisiveness. It might be stubbornness. It might be, maybe there could be a little bit of indecisiveness. Could be sort of an aspect of they're trying to hold on to things that maybe they should just let it go, or, you know, or they're just flat out, let's just put it flat out in more simpler terms, they're getting shit wrong. They're getting shit wrong. They are. I think that's just a more easier and simpler way. Axe says, yes, so I am here to say I told you. Listen, you go ahead and say I told you. I don't really give a shit. I don't do that. If I was right, I'm not going to sit here and gloat in people's faces. It's not my thing. If you want to do that, go ahead. I have a plan to talk about not just the manager. And by the way, I'm not saying to sack him, because my focus is on way bigger things that go over him. Like it's always been, I'm going to be consistent about it. He's not going to get sacked right now. Listen, maybe if he loses to Wolves, they sack him, because off the recent results that we just had, and then it's Wolves. If you can't get 3 points against Wolves, maybe they sack him. Maybe. But I still think, as far as in terms of, as long as on paper, you know, to the perspective of Ineos, I think as long as, when you look at that table, as long as there is a shot, point-wise, I think they will keep him here. And I think until that gap is sort of basically screwed, or maybe close to being completely screwed, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. So I'm not going to waste my time ranting and raving like these other people in our fan base that have the big channels that are screaming at the, you know, at the screens and sort of look like idiots to me. But if you want to vent, come vent and go ahead and do what you got to do. Richard says, oh, sorry, I lost my spot. I don't know why this thing does this to me. Richard says, I am going to the Leeds game on the 4th of January. Even worse, I'm sitting in the home end. Only way I could get a ticket. I am already regretting going after last night. Listen, you know, I feel for you. I hope, you know, I hope you get a good game, and I hope you get a good performance. We don't know what we're going to get, really. Maybe he won't even be here by then. Maybe he'll still be here. There's so many things, so many questions, and so many possibilities, Richard. I don't know where this club is going right now, but, you know, access, for how long are we going to tolerate This man, he is unable to set up a cohesive system. He can't pick the right substitutions because he doesn't understand his players and how to use them. Listen, like I told you before, what do you mean? What do you mean? How long are we going to tolerate? If you're not reading the room, the majority of fans have turned against him after yesterday. He's lost the majority support. And by what you mean by we, I think you should redirect it to Ineos, because we have no power to a certain extent. We can go and bitch and moan. We can go to the stadium, hold up signs, and do anything. But at the end of the day, it's for them to decide. And nothing's going to happen until they decide to do it. So I think the question act should be rephrased as, how long are Ineos going to tolerate this? Because whether I want him to stay or not doesn't impact him staying in the grand scheme of things. I'm one guy. And the majority of people, if you're reading the room and you're looking at what's going on, he's quite clearly, I mean, people are very pissed. People have lost faith. If they're not angry, they're disappointed and they're sad and they feel let down. So after yesterday, he's lost, as of right now, as it stands, he's not holding the majority anymore. So he is not in a good spot, fan-wise. And he's not in a good spot. Ugarte was terrible last night. Well, he hasn't been very good, has he? We have had some signings that they have done, and I've always said that there's no way that they could possibly get every signing right, because nobody ever does. But he seems like one that wasn't a good buy for us. Dorgu may potentially be one, but still, he hasn't really been here for a year. But, I mean, he is struggling, and, I think there's a potential for it to not work out. And there's probably a couple other ones, maybe on the horizon, maybe not there yet. But he is inflexible, says Axe. Like hell, the players are obviously unmotivated. Well, I have a few questions that I would like the answers to. And maybe you guys can give them to me, or at least we can talk them out and see what it is. Now, there has been sort of this ultimate question, and I'll get back to the chat in a second, but there's sort of been this ultimate sort of stance being put out across the fan base that I see many people putting out, talking about Ruben is doing what basically almost every other manager before him has done, in which he is trusting these players and pretty much forcing and favoriting these players that have failed time and time again before, and they've let other managers down and sacked him, and he's basically gone in the same route. Right now, how I see it, and I think the writing is on the wall for him, because I see a lot of similarities between him right now and Erik ten Hag. And we all know how it ended for Erik ten Hag. And I think the same is for Ruben, because he's doing a lot of same things. He's stubborn like him. He's not making changes. He's getting calls wrong. He's losing the fans. He's pissing the fan base off. He's losing support in that area. But the ultimate question is, how is it? Because I think this is important that we try and figure out what actually is going on. How is it that we can have 3 to 4 different types of managers that have different systems, different philosophies, different levels of experience, different just ideas of football? How is it that we can have all of these managers under different regimes? One guy was under Ed Woodward, or 2. The other one had Richard Arnold, or 2. And then this guy's got Ineos. How is it that all these managers through different time periods have come to this football club and have ended in the same situation where they are relying, quote unquote, to quote it exactly, I will tell you the quote right now, because somebody put it out and I've seen other people talking about it in other places, and it's literally the same question all over the place. And I'm like, it's a great question and it's sort of a great statement. But where is the discussion for the answer about it? So let me pull it up so I don't misquote it, because I think it was put out really good. And Here it is. It says, and it reads this way. Like every other manager before him, he's locked in some weird obsession with players that have failed too many times, and the football is crap. And so I just want to know, how can it possibly be? Because I don't believe it's coincidence. I don't believe it's chance. And I don't believe it's unluckiness. That we have all these different managers, and they have all come in, and they have all been, to some level of extent, stuck with these sort of, and had sort of these weird obsessions with these players that they continue to play, and they're not performing for them, and they don't change. They don't put in other players. They don't sort of give other players opportunities. It's happened under every manager in some different sort of form, in some sort of different way. And maybe one manager did it worse than the other, but it's all happened. To me, I don't know what this specific answer is. Maybe it's just as general as the Glazers. Maybe it's just in general as it's our owners. But that to me is a problem. Because I see it as, if you sack this guy, the next guy is going to end up in the same situation. Because there is clearly something that is leading these guys to come to this football club, and that same shit keeps happening, and it's not getting fixed, and it's not getting addressed. And it's not getting fixed. So it's gonna keep happening. It's gonna keep happening. Rajad is here. That's something that I want the answer to. I don't know. I've been driving myself crazy trying to make some sort of sense of it. Maybe you guys could give me a different perspective about it. But Lauren says Kobbie's becoming a huge issue over the Amorim system, far from reality of him being a 20-year-old who's already had early success and will see ups and downs in his career. Axe says, who the hell benches Mainoo? Listen, I think it's one thing to bench a player. I think it's another thing to not be using him as sort of a proper substitute. I think I think if he was at least using him probably in the people's eyes more fairly as a substitute, people would still be upset about it, but I don't think it would be to the level that it's hit now. And especially after yesterday, because of what he did. So I think there's a difference there, but it's not even like he's sort of maybe in the middle. He's gone so far this way with it that he's alienated almost basically the whole fan base. He was even asked, and again, big respect to the journalist. I don't know who asked it, but he was asked yesterday, and the journalist actually told him directly and sort of bring up the issue that people are talking about, that he's not using the youth academy. He doesn't believe in it, or he doesn't trust in it. And when the journalist said that to him, and this is how I know, like, it's not that, this is how I think, because when you see his reaction, he clearly obviously doesn't believe that. And he clearly obviously is thinking about it and looking at it in a completely different way to basically a lot of us. So right there is sort of the mismatch. We're definitely 100% not seeing eye to eye, because he was sort of perplexed. He was like bewildered by the statement that the journalist made, that he's like, you don't actually believe or trust in the youth system. And he's like, what are you talking about? So he's clearly like, he's just looking at it on a whole different thing. He's not understanding what the fan base and what others are talking about. Undero says Amorim is not doing himself any favors, and this is what I'm talking about, of how it's the same as Erik ten Hag. Because Ten Hag at the end wasn't doing himself any favors either. But he's not doing himself any favors, stubborn to the core, like Erik ten Hag, there you go. And so many of his in-game decisions are puzzling to me. I can't see us finishing higher than 10th place. Well, I think that's valid. I mean, I don't know where we're going to finish. Listen, to take the team from what we were last season, and to go into this season and thinking 4 transfers is going to transform this team into a team that I mean, we had great hopes that we would be able to find some sort of stability, but clearly it's not enough, and clearly it's not going to work. And we're going to have to talk about Ineos, and we're going to have to talk about the project, because again, we could talk about the manager all day, but there are things that are happening at this football club. The people in charge, they've made decisions. They're still going to be in charge even if he's sacked. And there's things that they need to get right or readdress or fix or whatever, because if they don't do that, whoever comes into the position, they're still going to suffer, like all the other managers. And they've all suffered in different points and different ways, and it's been different times with different squads and different circumstances, but it seems like we constantly are jumping around from, if it's not this problem, it's that problem. If it's not that problem, it's this problem. If it's not that problem, a new problem arises. So Axe says, bro, I sleep 5 hours a night to see those players do nothing under Amorim. My father pays the bills for the stream, and for what? And to watch. See, but this is the thing. You are going, and listen, I get it. I'm not trying to protect the manager, but I will, and in that statement right there, I'm putting it on both of them, because he's clearly getting shit wrong, but also, I don't really believe in a lot of these players. I don't think we have a good squad. I think our fan base actually overrates our squad a lot. I think our squad is overrated. To me, it cannot be that we have been shit for 12 years at squad building. We have never built a proper team. So how can it be that a manager is going to walk in to this team, any manager, I don't care who it is, and how are they going to find the answers in 1 to 2 seasons with the players that we have? Because I don't think our team is very good. And I don't think we've built a good squad in any year that we've ever had. Some might be better than others, but good enough for sustainability and longevity and to continue a project, we have never done it. And we're 12 years into this thing. And to me, I look at it as this is 12 years of damage and 12 years of mistakes and 12 years of bad running of a football club. And unfortunately, the way I see it, because of our current ownership model and because of the Glazers and what they did to us financially and because of all these bad mistakes over the past 12 years, we cannot do what Chelsea has done. We cannot do what Manchester City has done. We could maybe do what Arsenal has done to a certain extent, but our financial situation is quite fucked because of the people that own us and what they have done to us. I think we need, at somehow in some way, we're going to need 3 to 4 summer transfer windows. And somebody's going to have to get it. And what I mean by somebody is going to have to get it, a manager is going to have to get this. And I think whoever it is, I don't give a shit if it's Ruben, I don't care if it's Lopetegui, I don't care anymore. I really don't. Because I think we have to go through this process. But also I think a large majority of the fan base are unwilling to do this because they demand shit to be done in 1 to 2 seasons and they think it can happen. And I don't think it can. Off of everything that we've gone through, I don't think that there is sort of a quick fix to this. I think if we were to get new owners and we had sort of unlimited money and we can just blow through money, well, I think we can do it really quick in 1 to 2 seasons, quick. But in reality status of what we have right now, we're not able to do that. Whether you agree with that or not, whether you like that or not, that is just a fact that it is not going to happen under what we have right now. Young players getting the stick, says Sanchi, and when these serial losers don't get any. Rajat says, hi, I'm going to be Burnley fan. Pick Sunderland. They're pretty decent. Undero says, loss at Wolves on Monday night, and I can't see Amorim surviving that. I can't either. I mean, I think that's, you can't. And you know what? In typical fashion, it seems like the most likely thing to happen in that we are going to be the ones to rightfully embarrass ourselves. And I will say manager and players included, because they, again, he's got to take responsibility for his shit, but they got to take responsibility for their shit as well. And in typical fashion, they'll probably embarrass us. They'll give Wolves their first win. I didn't really like his comments on it, again. And I'm going to be quite honest. I watched all the interviews that he gave. I watched them both. And I fucking looked at him, and he looks like a guy that knows that he's fucked. I don't think he's, in a sense, given up. I just think that he looks, the look on his face yesterday looks like he's mentally, he's just defeated. And I don't know. He just gave this look that it just looked like it was a sort of look of despair and anger and disgust. And I think he sort of lost belief in, maybe these players have lost belief in him. I think he's lost belief in these players, and I don't think he fucking knows what to do anymore. Because I don't think, it seems to me what's happening is he's not trusting other players, and he doesn't trust his team. I think that defensive change yesterday was because he doesn't trust the team. And the reason why he tried to defend a 1-0 lead is because he probably, it's the way it feels to me is that he was trying to avoid. I think when people said it was cowardly, it is a level of cowardly, but I think there is, the reason for it is there is a level, I think he has a level of distrust with these players. Because I think he was afraid that if he makes more attacking changes, not only would we concede a goal, we would concede more than one goal, and we would lose that match. And I think he's desperate for the win, and he's desperate for the points because he knows it's important. And I don't think he trusts the squad. I don't think he trusts these players. I think he's looking around, and he's like, the guys that are supposed to give me the best aren't doing it, and I don't rate the other guys. And I think that's why we've seen that change. Now, still, doesn't mean he's right or wrong, but this is how I kind of see this going. Richard says it's not economically viable to sack him now, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe will not lose money. Well, to that argument, Richard, I would say, well, if you're going to sit down with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and talk about money, you would have to bring up the point of, and it would probably go into Axe's point, and probably many other people out there, there's a possibility if you sack him and the next guy that you can get and hire is actually good and fits for what we have and can do a job, right? You can save this season, because right now, even with the results we've had, if you look at the table, we're still 4 points off of 4th. We're 4 points off of 15th, but we're 4 points off of 4th. So the top 4 spot is still there for the taking as it is right now. And if you're going to make an argument to Jim about money, you're going to tell him, well, you're going to sack this manager, we're going to go get somebody else and have a possibility of saving this season, getting Europe. And if we get in Europe, we're going to get more money. So you're going to have to make a decision there, Mr. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, if it's all about money, because we've been here before. Now, there's also the possibility that you sack him. I don't know who they would possibly hire or they're going to bring in. And it could still be shit. It could get worse, as we've seen. When we bring in Rangnick and we fired Ali, it got worse. It didn't even get better. It got way worse. And as we see when we sacked Ten Hag, it didn't get better. So there's no guarantee. Just be aware of that. Because we're asking for Ruben to get sacked, and there's many people out there that believe that it will instantly get better, and it could very well be. And I don't give a shit. But I don't care about being right or wrong. I want the team to do good. If I'm wrong and they do better, great. If I'm right and they do better, great. I don't care. I just want it to be done. I just want them to do a job. I just want them to actually be good. So whatever happens, whatever decision it is, I just want it to benefit the team at the end of the day. He ain't playing Braga Rio Ave FC. No fan have control about what would be happening to the coach. Listen, we could have we have a little bit, a tiny bit, in terms of we can put some pressure. But ultimately, at the end of the day, just because one guy says Ruben in and one guy says Ruben out, I don't think we should be at each other's necks over it, because it's not gonna. If you flip that guy to Ruben in, they can sack him tomorrow. And if you flip that guy to Ruben out, which won't even happen, but if you do it, it's not like he's gonna get sacked tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't like that. It doesn't really have an influence. Axe says we have all the power. We are paying their bill. We are divided. That's why we don't control the club. Well, again, I understand what you're saying, but you know, don't preach to us. We're you know, in the grand scheme of things, and I'm always straight up. We're nothing. We're a small ass channel. We have no power. Individually, we have no power. My message to the rest of the fan base would be, if you don't believe in this manager and you don't believe in Ineos, stop bitching on the internet, get up and go do something about it, and start a movement. But they don't want to do that. And until they do that, I'm not going to waste my little time that I have as a small individual with no pull and no power and scream Ruben Amorim out every day for an hour and a half straight on the internet. Makes no sense to me. But I think you are right. If people can actually in this fan base come together, which I don't think can ever happen because everybody has too big of egos and too many different opinions. But if they can actually come together, we would have full power. But I don't see it ever happening. So, Red Deverator says, hello, the title of the video confused me because I thought you were resigned to this out-in position regardless, exactly like I am. Well, the reason why it's titled that is because the discussion in the fan base and the majority of people right now are calling for Ruben Amorim to be sacked. The majority has shifted to Ruben out. The minority is now Ruben in. I am still the same in terms of, I don't think that, you know, he's going to get sacked. Maybe, possibly, maybe if we don't if we don't beat Wolves and we give them their first win, I think it will be increasingly even more. But if he gets, but there's also the factor of that if he gets 2-3 results in the next couple matches, it's going to flip back the other way. And then he's going to stay because they're not going to sack him after that. So, and really, I want to have a discussion about the whole Ruben out thing, because just screaming Ruben out or Ruben in ain't going to get us anywhere. We got to start talking about, if we do sack him or he does get sacked, where are we going? What's happening? We need to look at Ineos. We need to talk about Ineos. We need to talk about the players. We need to talk about our squad. The conversation has to be bigger than just Ruben Amorim. Because this is what always happens. And I'm tired, and I really am tired, of the same merry-go-round bullshit that this fan base keeps doing. In that we get a new guy in, everybody goes to back him. Some of them don't like him right off the bat, but they pretend because they don't want to be called out for being toxic or negative from the beginning. So they hide their true feelings in the beginning. They pretend to back this guy. They give him about 4 to 6 months because you know it's United. We haven't had a successful project in 12 years. And you know in the back of your head, in 4 to 6 months, shit's probably going to start going sideways. And when it starts going sideways, that's going to be my time to come out to the masses and start going at the manager and start drilling him hard so that you can get your attention, your clicks, your rage bait, and all your bullshit. And just focus solely on that. And let's not talk about anything else, because it's all about the manager. Because at the end of the day, out of all the people at the football club, between the players, the owners, and everybody else involved, who is the easiest and always the first one to go in this football club? It is the manager. And we have done this so many times. And actually, if you look across all the years, in the different iterations of teams, and we've changed players along the way as well, but there's shit that's happening from 4 or 5 years ago, and it's still happening now. Rajat says, why are you substituting Dalot when he was doing okay, he was lucky to score, but it was kind of a great goal? Well, apparently, and this is not from Ruben's mouth, Laurie Whitwell reported it after the match on Diego Dalot, because I had the same question, and I did the watch-along, and on the watch-along, when he went to go substitute Dalot off, I didn't agree with it, and I said, I don't understand why he's doing that. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea to take off Dalot and put on Dorgu, and quite clearly, obviously, it wasn't great. Now, Laurie Whitwell came out after the match and said apparently Diego Dalot signaled that he was injured and asked for a substitute. So, if that's the case, that's why that happened. He still made another 4 or 5 decisions after that, so I don't think anybody had a problem sort of with Lenny coming on for Heaven. Heaven was on a yellow. That was the one that is logical, and you had to do it. Dalot, if he had an injury and he signaled to come off, what are you going to do? In that case, all we got is Dorgu on the bench in terms of that position. But he still put on Lisandro Martinez for sure. He still put on Ugarte instead of Kobbie Mainoo. He pushed up Bruno. And he kept other players, and he took off Xerxes, and he took off Cunha with 15 minutes to go, and he tried to defend a 1-0 lead. So there's still other things in there that he did. So he might be absolved of one thing, but listen, there's a lot of things that he did that didn't happen, or that he got wrong. So, I like your description of Manchester United as the Overlook Hotel where the caretaker gets locked in the same endlessly repeating history. Well, it just, that's how it feels to me. Like, I'm going crazy thinking about it, because I'm just like, how does the fan base get into this thing where we get so tunnel vision on the manager? And then and then at some point we actually start having a larger conversation about it, but then the results go bad and everybody goes to the manager. And there's people out there that are saying, just keep sacking them until we get the right one. And I don't know if that's the correct way either. I don't know if that's necessarily going to work for us. It might work for Chelsea. It might work for some other clubs. But I don't know, specifically to our situation. Our football club is different than everybody else. Our situation is totally different. The way I view it, it's totally different than every football club. I don't feel like we haven't been under sort of a normal circumstance of a football club for a long time. And we still aren't. So I don't know if you just keep sacking them. I don't know if that'll help us. That might make shit worse. If you keep sacking a manager, you bring one in. If he does bad, sack him. 6 months, a year, sack him. This guy last 2 years, sack him. 2.5 years, sack him. Until somebody actually does. I don't know if that will lead us anywhere good. I don't. I'm lost on that. I don't know if that's good. It might work. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is the right way to go. But I don't know. Lyle says, also each manager has his hate a specific player moment. Moyes, Kagawa, LVG, Di Maria, Mourinho, Pogba, Shaw, Ali, not sure, and Amorim. I don't think Ali probably had one, to be quite honest, because Ali is such a just genuinely nice guy. I think actually Ali was probably the opposite. I think he was probably too nice. He tried to give everybody sort of a shake. Remember, he had that statement where he said he's going to pencil in Henderson to get some game time, and he received criticism for that because people were like, the hell, you don't do that. So I don't think Ali actually fits into that, but all the other ones, yeah, but I think that's sort of normal in terms of there are, I don't think it's necessarily hate. Maybe some managers, maybe you could say with Mourinho, maybe, he has a certain different personality. But I think with some managers, it's just they just prefer a certain player and the way they play the football to what they want for their team. And I think some people take it to the extreme and they take it really personal. Like they almost act like they are the player and the manager is doing it to them. It's very weird. It's very strange. I don't know why that happens, but it does. And I think, well, I would like to expect they're being professional. This is a professional sport. This is a professional place. There's supposed to be professionalism going on here to a certain extent. Ryan says, big up, because these players are only capable of playing counterattacking football. I blame Dolly and we finished second, and we had it on being run records without fans in the ground. Yeah, I mean, pressure, I think, is one of them. Pressure, the quality of the players, I think is definitely a problem. I think Ruben has his own faults. He's inexperienced. He was always inexperienced. He's a young guy. He hasn't been a manager for quite long. His level is literally Champions League in Europe and Portuguese League. So he's always going to make mistakes. He's always going to get shit wrong. He's always going to have fault. But then we have to look at Ineos as well. And I'll get to Ineos in a second, for sure. Red of a radar. I'm so far behind in the chat. You guys are killing it today. Weird obsession with players happened way too often. Mourinho obsession with Fellaini, McTominay, BPH, of which are ex-players. Which prime Casemiro didn't even play midfield too? Why is he playing this formation with Bruno, who is defensively great? Well, here's my thing. And again, I think why he's playing this formation, this sort of talk, I think is misdirected, because it's in my opinion, it's not Ruben. Because fans are expecting Ruben to do something that he's not going to do and he's never going to do. It's not his thing. That sort of thing. Why he's playing this formation with these players? Because Ineos hired him. And Ineos chose to go this direction. Ineos chose to hire a guy that plays away in a certain system. He didn't lie to them. He didn't walk into the interview and say, I promise I'm going to play a 4-2-3-1 and we're going to play counter-attack and I'm going to try and replicate Sir Alex Ferguson or some shit. And they said, great. And he walked in and he said, yeah, fuck you. I signed the contract. Now I'm going to do whatever I want. He didn't do that. He went in there and he told them exactly what he's going to do. And I've said this point many times, and you can look it up. There is articles about it from The Athletic. When Ruben Amorim went for the interview for Liverpool, he told them the same exact thing that he told our board and our people that are running our football club. He told them, I play this way. He said, I don't play another way. He said, I can do this in this manner if you give me the tools to do it. The people at Liverpool said his formation and his system is far from the players we have, and to do a rebuild with this guy, it's going to take a longer process than if we go in a different direction, and it's going to cost a lot more money. So they chose not to go with it. When he came to us, or when he came to do the interview with us, he told them the same exact thing, and they chose to go in that path. Now, when you choose to go in that path, there's only two things that are going to happen. It's either right or wrong, and it's either going to go good or bad. And clearly, it is the wrong option because we don't have the money for it. He's not going to get the time that he would need to actually complete this out. And because we don't have the money for it, it's going to take us longer than you have to do it, or that you would like to do it. So it's failing across the board. They made the wrong decision in getting this guy. If we didn't have the money to do it, they should have never went down this direction. If they couldn't do sort of a mass exodus, which I still believe you have to do if you want to do what they're trying to do. Because many of us, everybody has said the way he plays does not fit for the players that we had. That's quite obvious to everybody. Now, there's the only thing you could do from that is if you have the money and you can make the moves, you remove all the players that don't fit, and you get in players that do fit. But he's gotten in 5 players. One is a left wing back in Dorgu, and the other 4, we all know who they are, and they just came. When you put that into perspective, take all those players and look at the rest of the team. The rest of the team is the team that he had last season, barring some exits, that finished 15th, lost the Europa League final, and played like shit all season. So the majority of the squad failed last season under him, and 4 to 5 players and let's just say 4, the ones that we got in the summer, I don't think they're going to be able to carry the weight of the entire team. And how far can they possibly take us? If you're taking the team, if the team is the team from last season and you add 4 new players, how far can those 4 players take us? How high can they take us? I don't think they can take us very far. I don't think they could take us very high, because I think you would need way more. You would probably need another 4 on top of that at the minimum. At the minimum. And that's a lot of changes at one time. That's a lot of things. It's not going to go smooth. This process would always have to take 3 to 4 years. But there's too many people in this fan base that's not going to let that happen for one reason or another, right or wrong. And it's blowing up the way it is because this is the repercussions of what they've chosen to do. Axe says, I'm telling you, with Amorim, we'll get nowhere. We need to change him now. Hopefully we'll get into Europe. We need Nuggets or Tuchel now. Well, we're not getting Tuchel, so you're dreaming. He's literally about to go to World Cup. He's not leaving to come with us. And we would have to pay probably, I don't know how much money. And I don't know if they're going to do that. So we're not getting him. Nuggets is the same because he's in Germany. So I don't think that's happening. And yeah, so again, I'm telling you, be careful because we don't know if they sack him. We don't know who they're getting. And the grass won't always be greener. What if the next pick's worse or just as bad? It's not going to get better. And it could always get worse. Don't make the mistake of thinking that it's automatically going to get better. I'm just warning. It could. There is definitely a possibility that they can pick somebody and things get better and we actually can sort of, I guess, save this season, quote unquote. But it's not a guaranteed. And if you want to try and split the percentage, go ahead and be my guest. But I think it's quite impossible to do it considering that we don't know what the hell is going to happen. Johnny Hill says, the fact Amorim laughed at the idea of Mainoo being an option to be brought on, presser after the game, should show everyone Amorim's toxic. I mean, if you want to call it toxic, go ahead. I think it's just stubbornness, and I think it shows stubbornness, and I think it shows that he is totally on a different page to the fan base, because nobody in the fan base agrees with him on this. Nobody in the fan base agrees on Bruno Fernandes playing in that position. Nobody agrees on him doing what he's doing to Kobbie in that sort of manner. And nobody agrees with the decision yesterday to bring Manuel Ugarte on and then not Kobbie Mainoo. And this is where I have a problem with it, because I always said it's one thing if he doesn't pick you as a starter, it's one thing. But to then go from the level of being a sub and ignoring him as a sub and not even giving him like sort of a chance. Listen, if you get 20 minutes, you get 20 minutes. But it's 20 minutes. But to go from a match and give him 50 and then give him nothing and then give him nothing again, I think in that spot, he's lost the plot totally. Like, he's totally wrong. He's totally in the wrong. And he's not seeing it because he's so adamant that he is right. And ultimately, it's going to be his downfall because Ten Hag did the same thing in different ways with different players, but ultimately it was the same. And he kept going with it, and it led him to his demise. And he's probably going to do the same thing. You know, for me, the writing is on the wall at some point. Because unless he changes, and I don't believe he's going to change, because I think he is too stubborn, and I don't think, maybe he doesn't even really care, because he wants to do it his way, and he thinks his way is the best, and he refuses to change because he doesn't believe in the other way. So, club is not Nottingham. I'm going to skip some comments. So if there's a point that you want to put out that I skipped over, put it in again. Don't worry about it. I'll get to it at the bottom. Lauren says we won't suffer so much with the 4-3-3 manager. We'll use our existing fullbacks and wingers. Well, listen, that's a fine point. But, you know, go get a guy to play 4-3-3. Because Ruben's not going to do it, and he can't. It's not what he does. And if he does a 4-3-3, there's still a very good chance that it doesn't work because it's not his thing. So that could be a thing where go get a guy that plays 4-3-3 maybe we'll have more sustainability. Maybe we'll be more consistent and we'll be less inconsistent. And in just that manner, we'll have a better season this season in that case. But again, to tell Ruben to do it, it's pointless. And to me, it doesn't even make a lot of sense because it's not his thing and I don't think it's going to work. You know, we've seen managers here where they've tried to change the football that they were playing. Ali did it at the end where he started changing formations to try and, you know, save himself, his job, and get results. And it didn't work because it wasn't his football. And we've seen sort of Ten Hag do it as well, and other managers have done it. And it doesn't even work for them because it's not their thing. It's not their original plan. And when you start doing that, it breeds even more sort of anxiousness and stuff like that because it just puts the picture of the writing is on the wall even more. Chad says, I'm back a month early. Bruno still sucks. Luke Shaw is overrated as fuck, bro. Axe says, our players change clubs and become important players in almost every championship. I'm so glad you said that. How are they crap? Well, let me put it to you this way, and this is another argument that I have, and I'm glad you said this. Because people say this, and I will pose the question that they leave this football club. You tell me one player that has left this football club, that has gone to another football club, that is as big as Manchester United, has as much pressure and has much demand as Manchester United and expectations, and is succeeding at that place. Because there is not one player that has left our club that has the amount of pressure and the amount of demand and expectations. They have not gone to there's no club that matches our pressure and expectations. There's not one club. So all these players, while they might have left our club and they might be doing better, some of them, not even all of them, because some of them, I don't know where they are. I don't know what they're playing. I don't know how long they're playing. You don't hear a peep about them. There's a couple. Prime example would be Scott McTominay because he's having the life of his lifetime right now. But Napoli is not as big as Manchester United. The expectations are not as big. The pressure is not as big. It's a different football in a different league. So that always leads me to my argument. We are not getting players that can handle the pressure and the expectations at our football club, which goes back into the squad building aspect of it. Napoli with Mainoo and McTominay is a fever dream for them. But again, Italian football is not the same. And Napoli is not the same as Manchester United. So you can have more freedom and you can play with more freedom. But we're talking about our club. And how are we going to fix that? We either find players. The only two things I can think off the top of my head is we actually find players and get players that have a stronger attitude mentality and can handle more pressure. And build a team around them. And that's going to take years to do. It's going to take 2 to 3 summer transfer windows. And that's getting shit right. Or, which many fans, there's a divide in the fan base about it. The expectations need to be temporarily lowered while we go through this process. But some fans, they won't do it. And that's their point of view. And I'm not even going to go against them because I sort of agree with keeping a certain level of standard. I get it. But some people are very extreme on it. And I don't think this club can sort of... I think this club is stuck and it can't move. Because they're going to keep the pressure. They're going to keep the expectations. So the only way to fix it, in my opinion, is you got to get the personnel has to be different. And then you have to couple it with the manager that could maybe lift the levels as well. But if you have players with really low levels, the manager can only take it so high anyway. Chad says, can't remember parking the bus when Pogba played mid. No, we parked the bus under Mourinho for sure. And we parked the bus at times under Ali. I mean, different times, but, you know. We did. Why keep playing back 5 versus 10-man Everton? Where does he adapt to different game situations at all? Well, again, his point of view, and I'm not arguing for if it's right or wrong, but the answer to that from his mouth and his words is that it's not the back five, it's the personnel on the pitch and how they play. That's his thing. But obviously many people have a gripe with that because they don't agree with it, because they're like, you should be taking out a defender to put on an extra, midfielder or attacker. Stop at the back five. You don't need the back five in that situation. Which I sort of agree with to a certain extent. But again, I think that then comes into sort of the aspect of, one, he's stubborn about it and he doesn't believe that. And two, I don't think he trusts his team. I don't think he trusts the team enough to do that. I think he is quite concerned, the players, that we are conceding goals with back fives. And I think he's probably looking at it like, if I take off a defender and put on an extra player somewhere in the forward or midfield, we're probably going to concede more goals, and we probably have a less of a chance of winning the game. Now, right or wrong, I think that's how he's looking at it. Ryan says we're carrying too many average players like Dalot, Shaw, Bruno, Casemiro, Maguire. Still, here, no manager will succeed under current regime. And that's part of the problem. It is part of the problem. And that's why I think whatever manager you want to go get, I don't care who it is, go get them. But they're still going to have to deal with this. And I don't think the squad is good enough. And the squad can only get good enough by going through transfer windows and replacing these players and getting in new players, and keep doing that. Chelsea did it by spending over $1 billion in a short period of time. They haven't won a Premier League or a Champions League. They won the whatever that is, the Super Cup or whatever it is. But everybody laughed at them in the initial stage because they bought 700 million players and they were spending money like crazy. But it's sort of stabilized itself now, hasn't it? Because they've done what every other club has done. Manchester City did the same in building their process. They did it over a number of years, and it continued through Pep Guardiola. And I will always continue to make the argument why, when Pep came in his season, and he wanted to play his tiki-taka Spanish football in England, it wasn't good in the beginning. Why didn't he keep all those players, and why didn't he make them better? Because they didn't have what he needed. And you can't teach and you can't get players to learn certain things when they don't naturally have it. Whether it's body size or just IQ or how they play the position. Some players are more naturally gifted to that, to certain aspects. And what you want is a player that's naturally gifted to that, and then you grow them from there. You need somebody with natural progression in those places. So squad building for us is definitely an issue, and it's going to be an issue for the next guy that comes in, regardless of who is here. Cass is a legend. His winning mentality is needed. McTominay looking very good with Napoli. Again, I would pose as, just give me one club that has bigger expectations and bigger pressure than us, that somebody has left us and is doing well there. Because there's nobody. There was Rashford for a tiny bit. His form has dipped. And he ain't hitting the same. And Barca don't even want him. So, that's about it. The only club would be Barcelona and Real Madrid. And we don't have players that went to Real Madrid. Besides Alvaro Carreras. Which Alvaro Carreras, I've always said, was an absolute mistake by our football club. And we fucked that up. Completely. Ondero says, our squad is clearly not good enough, but it's made to look even worse by a manager that wants to play his way. Any manager will be able to recognize this and play to the strengths of the current squad. And that's sort of I guess the impasse of the road. But I put that blame more on Ineos than I put on Ruben, because Ruben always said what he was going to do. Our people in charge were the ones that decided to go with this. They knew what they were getting into in terms of, he was straightforward that he was going to do this. He was adamant from day one that he was always going to do this. And they chose to go with this, and they're choosing to stick with it. So, again, you can blame Ruben, and he can get blamed for it because he's doing it. But I think it's kind of like beating a dead horse to keep just saying it's Ruben, because he's not doing it, when we have people in charge of the football club that can actually do something about it. And what I mean by do something about it is removing him. But they are going along with this. So I think they're actually the bigger problems, and they're actually the bigger thing to talk about. Rajat says, wait, as much as Dalot has been performing this year, don't think he makes much of a difference last match. What? I think he makes a difference, but difference to win the match? I don't think so, because our problem was attacking. Our problem was we were slow. Our problem was we weren't clinical. Our right back our left back, who is a right back, had to score the goal. Our front three didn't play particularly good in terms of Mbumo didn't do good. Cunha didn't do good. Diallo did good in some aspects, but there's still a lot of negativity in terms of not going forward enough, turning around too much, passing the ball sideways, passing the ball backwards. There's no urgency. And I put this on all of them, the players and the manager, because it's his job to get them to do it. I don't know if he can do it because they don't seem like they understand. And then I think the personnel is an issue. So I think it's, to put it bluntly, it's sort of a clusterfuck. And I feel like I'm repeating the same things I said about Erik ten Hag. And I feel like I'm talking about Erik ten Hag, which is driving me nuts because they play two different ways and they have two different philosophies. And I see that, and the team, there's players that were under Ten Hag that are no longer here. And there's players here that were not here when Ten Hag was here. And we still have their similarities. And it's driving me crazy. Axe says, I'm not your mother, but I advise doing nicotine gum. But okay, you're a grown up man. It's not gum, it's pouches. But yes, I appreciate your concern, my friend. Some of these people are thinking Xavi will get these groups of players to be able to play tiki-taka football. Listen, I will accept the argument because I think it's plausible. And I don't think it's far-fetched that you can say, listen, if you bring in Xavi and he plays a 4-3 and we change it up, can it be better than this? Yes, because this is bad. Yeah, and it's been bad for a long time, and it can give us more stability. But I think, again, there's too many people out there that believe that can take us to the promised land. And it in the long run, it could. But I would still tag on, it probably needs a good 3 summer transfer windows from then. And we need the money. And we need to be finishing in good position. So there's a lot of other factors. And the way people talk about it, they talk about it like it's a plug and play type of thing, like they're playing FM26. And that's just not reality for our situation, unfortunately. I feel them. If I had my way, I'd kick the Glazers out, I'd get Ineos out, I'd get the debt out, I'd get us with a sort of unlimited money, and I'd replace the fucking entire squad. For the most part. Not the entire squad, but you know what I mean. A large portion, majority. And I'd get in brand new players. And even then, I'd probably still do it over the course of 2 seasons, because if we did it all in one swoop, you're going to end up what's happening to Liverpool, where they made too many big signings, too many changes all at once, and it's going to lead to instability. So it wouldn't even necessarily work. It's never worked. Nobody has ever gotten all those changes in. Even with Chelsea buying all those players, the reason why it was a mess was because they made so many so long. They had to stop. They had to go with a plan. They had to get some sort of continuation. And it sort of straightened itself out now. And there is stability there, which is why things are improving there. Definitely he should play to the strengths of his squad until such time as he can get players who can play his system. Well, maybe he should. Maybe he should be doing so, but he's not going to do so because he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe that that's the right way. He doesn't believe that that's beneficial to the project and to the team. So he's not going to do it. And he's not a god, and he's inexperienced, and he's getting things wrong, and he's failing because of them. And just like other managers, they've got a lot of things wrong, and they went down because of them. And he will go down because of this. He will. He will. 100%. There's no question about it. Did Cunha ask to be substituted or no? I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I didn't see anything about Cunha being asked to be substituted. The only thing that we got was that Mason Mount didn't start because Mason Mount received a knock after the Crystal Palace game. He was apparently the last one to leave the dressing room because it had to get tended to. The rest of the team was on the bus, and he was in there for a while. And that's why apparently he didn't start, although some people will argue he was going to drop him anyway because Cunha was back, and maybe he would have. But Dalot was the guy that obviously wasn't available, and Dalot, apparently, according to Laurie Whitwell, was had some sort of injury and asked to be substituted. There was nothing that I seen about Cunha, so... Lauren says, if you can't get a tune, then composer needs to be replaced. Well, he's always said that as well. So, again, I think all eyes and sort of discussion now needs to go to Ineos. Because, to be fair to him, whether you like him or not, he's always said that. And I agree with the fact of, you know, he said something needs to change. Either we change how we play football, we change the players, or you change the manager. Now, something's going to have to change. And he's running out of time. He's not getting the results. And he's not going to get the time to replace the players for it to work for him. Because we don't have the movability to do it. Like January, they talk... and this is the thing. January, they're talking about, yeah, we might do a deal or two, but it's going to be on the lower end. And then they want him to get to the end of the season, get in a good position, and go to the summer. They don't have the time. They are living in a fantasy land if they think that's going to happen. Because quite clearly, the players we have, he can't get them to do what he needs them to do for the system to work. So the only answer is get rid of him and play a different system and play to their strengths. Or get in new players. And if you can't get in new players because we don't have the money, or they don't want to spend the money in January, well, then they're going to have to change him because he's not going to make it. And they're going to be forced into doing it, whether they want to or not. Chad says if and when Bruno goes, and when we win the leagues like Sporting did after he left, it will be ironic and coincidental for words. Well, I think it depends how that happens. Is it going to happen right after? If it happens right after, I think you have a plausible shout for it. If it happens 4 years down the line, I mean, that's not sort of a hard prediction to make because obviously 4 years through, a lot of different shit's going to happen. So, but I would say if Bruno leaves and literally the next season we go and win the league, I think your criticism would be absolutely valid on that point. But if you're telling me he leaves and then 4 years later we don't win down the league, I think it's less valid to a certain degree because there's going to be so many other things that happen at the football club and not just Bruno Fernandes going. So, if you don't beat Wolverhampton, then really good luck. I mean, he can't lose against Wolverhampton, and if he does, I don't know how he continues, because he's only going to lose more support. And I just don't see how you survive that sort of aspect with the pressure that's on him now, with sort of the hate that's on him now, the displeasure with him. I don't know how you possibly survive not getting 3 points against the worst team in the Premier League that has 0 wins, and you give them their first win. Even a draw is not going to save him in that circumstance. So this season won't be saved. We will finish no higher than we are now, regardless of the manager. You're saying. Chaz says Mainoo bench. His haters deserve this. Well, like I've always said, I like him. I think he's a good player. I don't really like what's happened with him, but I always said there's a clear difference between if you're not a starter, you're not a starter. The manager will make a decision, and using him as a sub. But this erraticness and this weirdness and this sort of what appears to be sometimes a lack of willingness to even put him in, I think is preposterous and wrong. And he's totally botched this. He's totally not reading the room on this. He's totally just stuck in his own ways about it. And we've seen this before with different players in different aspects, whether it's not playing them or picking them too much. And it has all led to the managers getting sacked. So in logical sense, this will lead him to getting the sack. And it's leading him to getting the sack, I think is a fair thing to say. Doing the same crap on different day is Man United's favorite motto. Oh, Grace is here. You guys went crazy, and I don't have the chat on slow mode. So, he never gives chance to the Academy stars. Why? Well, my thing that I would put out to this is, and it's not an excuse, but you have to try and take the circumstance into consideration as well. Has a manager at this football club, I can't think off of the top of my head, have we ever not been in Europe after post Sir Alex Ferguson? I think we've been in Europe in some sort of form, one way or another, whether it's Champions League or Europa League. I can't remember a time that we were not in Europe. And actually, he gave sort of an answer to this, and I didn't like the answer because I think there's holes in the answer, and I think there's valid arguments against the answer he gave. But it shows you his thinking about it, and this is what I've been trying to explain on this channel, because it's not ultimately my way, because my way ain't gonna make him change it. I've always been trying to explain his way, so that we can understand his perspective, and we can talk about our perspective. But if I can pull up the quote, and I will, somewhere, he was asked about this, and he said somewhere along the lines of, because he was asked about, when he was asked about Kobbie Mainoo, and he laughed at it, and then he went on to talk about Shea Lacey, and he said something along the lines of, I am picking the best players that I think are best prepared for this situation. I have internationals on the bench. He pretty much said, I'm going with the experienced, because the experienced are the most prepared for these sorts of things, and he truly believes that they give him the best opportunity to win the match right now. And he does view these younger guys, these academy players, as sort of later down the line in the project. Now, for a United standpoint, that kind of flies in the face of our whole thing, because we have always sort of used side by side. They are for the future, but we do give them chances in the immediate, and we have always sort of mixed it in. He clearly goes against that grain at the current moment in time, because he's not willing to do it right now, because he views it based off of what he's saying, and if you choose to believe him, fine, but I can only go off of what he's saying. He views it as, it's not a thing for now, it's a thing for later. And people don't agree with that. Exactly, sacking Amorim will expose Ineos' incompetence. I mean, but I don't think it exposes it, because it's being exposed right now. They already made the wrong decision. We are seeing it. We already know it. I think it's already been sort of exposed in that sense. Like, there's nothing more to expose. The only thing that they have to do is sack a manager and go get somebody else, and change up the plan, which they are unwilling to do, or they're reluctant to do. So, Grace is here, says, so you Amorim out. Oh, what we're doing is we're having a discussion in the fan base. Again, I will say, I'm not going to waste my time saying Ruben Amorim out, because until they choose to sack him, and listen, I see the writing on the wall. I don't think he's going to be able to survive this. I don't think he has the time. I don't think he has the personnel. I don't think he's going to be able to figure things out and get the answers. And he's doing things that I've seen Ten Hag do, which ultimately led him to getting sacked and not doing well either. And I think the same is going to happen to him. So everybody, a lot of people in the fan base, Grace, are Ruben out. They've shifted the majority from what I'm seeing, and maybe it's just anger, and maybe if he gets results, it'll flip a little bit back more to 50-50 or something like that. But he's lost the majority support. Ten Hag lost the majority of the support, and every other manager. And when we hit this period, we all know what happens. They don't come back from this. They don't come back from this. They don't survive. They don't find the answers. They don't figure it out. They end up getting the sack. So we're just having a general discussion about it. But in my opinion, I'm not going to waste my time talking about he needs to go, because until Ineos decide to do it, they're going to do it. Now, if they pull the trigger tomorrow, I can't really fight it. I can't really argue with it. It's not going well. And you can't really argue if they make the change. You can't. At this point anymore, you can't. Because the whole thing, regardless of him, the whole thing just seems to be one big bad giant choice that is never going to work, because they've totally misjudged this fan base and the expectations and the pressure. They have tried to go, listen, if they came in 7 years ago, maybe they would have been able to get away with getting a good 3 to 4 seasons, and this is what they tried to go for. But they've come in 12 years down the line, and there's no more patience, and the expectations are still very high, and the pressure is still very high, and there's just no room for them to do this. And they've totally misjudged this, in my opinion. I think, like I said yesterday, I think that they looked at this and they said, let's go get this young guy. He's inexperienced. We're trying to sell the fan base a project in that we're looking to do it over the next 3 to 4 years, seasons, whatever you want to call it. If we get an inexperienced guy and a younger guy, I think they really believed that the fan base will be a lot more tolerant to give him a lot more time than if they went and said, let's go get a proven one. Like, if they went and got Ancelotti, when they got Ruben, I think they viewed it and said fans are going to demand it to be done a lot quicker. And that has never been Ineos's messaging. Ineos's messaging has always been, it's going to take years, it's a process, it's going to take a bit of time. And that's why I think they went for him, because he was sort of a young, promising manager. There was potential that he could become a very good manager. And they were like, if we get this guy, the fans will be more lenient and give him more time. The problem is that the inexperience has had a major blow. The big change in terms of going into the system and playing the way he is, there's not enough time to do that. We can't make the changes we need to do for the squad for it to work in the amount of time that people want it to work, and people are asking for things to happen. So, 43 is Cunha a left wing now. I don't know what you do. This is what I'm saying. They got to figure this out. They created this mess. They're in charge of the football club. And their job now is they're going to have to go and figure some shit out and rectify it, or at least attempt to rectify it. But you want them to rectify it. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do with what we have and what we're doing. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it'll get better. Ray says, I think the treatment of Mainoo is unacceptable. Well, I mean, you're not alone. Many people feel that way. I don't like a certain aspect to it. I didn't have necessarily a problem if you don't pick him as a starter. But I think I've always said there's got to be some level of fairness. And I don't find it acceptable that you can choose to play Bruno next to Casemiro, and then you don't choose to play Mainoo next to Casemiro, and you play Ugarte instead. And I think he did that because, you call it cowardly, call it scared, call it he doesn't have balls, whatever it is, maybe that's an aspect of it. But I think he viewed it yesterday as, I don't think he trusts these groups of players. I think I think Ray said it probably a few times. I think now he's doing shit from sort of a position in a certain aspect of scared, in that he is scared of his team because he doesn't trust them and they're conceding goals. And he put on defensive subs and he tried to hold on to a lead because I think he's looking at it and he's like, we are conceding, playing the way we are playing. I'm not even playing to the extent of the attackingness that I want. And we are still conceding goals. And I think he probably viewed it yesterday as, if I take off a defender, or if I go more attacking, we're probably, not only are we going to concede a goal, we'll probably concede more than a goal, and we'll end up losing this match. And he doesn't want to lose. He wants to win. So in a certain sense, it's from a scared position, but also from another sense, I think he does. From his decisions, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like he trusts his team to get the job. And from his statements and from his responses, I think that's quite clear. Like, he doesn't have belief in these guys, which is a huge problem. Because if you don't have belief in them, I mean, how do you expect them to have belief in you and vice versa? But at the same time, I mean, I've heard Gary Neville speak, and he was saying things along the lines of like, it doesn't look like they've sort of downed tools. And I don't think they have, in a certain sense. I don't think they've sort of like given up like how we've seen them do in the past. But I just don't think, I think the belief in themselves, and I think the belief all around is just not there from all different types of angles right now. Rude back, Ali back, Nuggets from the summer. Well, I don't know what Rude's doing. Ali, I'm not taking him back. I'd rather go get Michael Carrick and be an interim for the rest of the season than do that. I don't have a problem with Rude. I just don't know where he is. Is he unemployed? But no to Ali. I don't believe in going backwards. We should have never went back for Pogba. Cristiano didn't work well, even though I wanted it and it was a dream, but it didn't work well. And I don't think we should ever go backwards into something that we had and it didn't work and we moved away from it. So, no to Ali, but something. They got to do something. They got to figure something out. Barcelona lets Rashford take almost all their set pieces. That's responsibility. Lucky says, I'm with the current manager. Want to see if one quality midfielder January. Plus, we need to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game. But I don't know if we can do that. You know, I think that's what needs to happen, Lucky. But it's all about, it's the same thing as when Ten Hag was here. It's all about, is he going to be able to get that done? Because if he can't get that done, he can't get the results. And if you can't get the results and the gap gets bigger, he can't stay here. It's, you know, it's just as simple as that. And time is running out for him. Because we've already squandered 4 chances. We're a bit lucky that the rest of the league is as inconsistent as us. But you would expect at some point that a couple of teams are going to sort their shit out. And if we're not one of them, we're going to fall behind. And if we fall behind, it's game over. Personal selection is very bad in terms of employee personality analysis regardless. The current squad can be way better motivated. Chad says the divide is Bruno fans and the rest of football fans. No, it's bigger than that. Lucky says I would get rid of recruitment departments. Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, bring Vavel and new West Ham recruitment offer. Well, they might have to do something like that going forward because these guys have made sort of 2 decisions. These people that are here, they've made 2 decisions in terms of, they've made 3 decisions actually. The 3 decisions was keeping Ten Hag and then sacking him later and then getting Amorim in. So these are 3 major decisions, and people feel very heavily that they got all 3 of those decisions wrong. Whether it was they should have sacked Amorim, I mean, they should have sacked Ten Hag right after the FA Cup and not kept him and bring somebody else in. Whether they shouldn't have sacked him in November, they shouldn't have hired Ruben as the manager, or they shouldn't have hired him when and forced him to come at the time that he did. They have gotten all these things wrong. So I can always admit this. I've never said that I'm going to be right. I'm wrong about a lot of things, but I always give them an opportunity to let things play out. And when it gets to a point where I'm just like, this is not happening, then it's not happening, and I'll come out and I'll say it, and I don't really give a shit. So, Axe says most of the blame goes on Ineos after that, then on Amorim. We need to get rid of Ineos too. Well, I will say, in terms of getting rid of Ineos, I don't think we're going to get rid of Ineos in terms of us. I think the way Ineos, I think probably the most plausible way that this will happen, Sir Axelord, is that we are going to have to continue to probably fail, and we're probably going to have to continue to watch them to get shit wrong and fuck up to a point where it has utterly, totally failed. The whole thing fails. The whole thing has to collapse from out from under them, which means that this club is going to devolve into a lot more chaos, and a lot more negative shit is going to happen. And then, maybe only then, Ineos might say, fuck this, we're out. The Glazers might say, all right, who wants to buy us? Because we're fucked in terms of we ain't getting back. But the Glazers are always tricky because these guys seem to be able to continue to be making money and making profits. But Ineos might be like, fuck this. Sir Jim kind of alluded to that, but I don't know. I don't know what to believe with that guy because he's said things that weren't true before, and he is a business guy, and those guys are quite hard to trust because they play politics on both sides. It's part of being a businessman. So he said at some point, if the abuse gets too much in that interview, that he'd pack it up and leave. Is that true? Was that sort of a ploy? Was that fake? Was he trying to buy points with the fans? Or is it true? And if it does, they actually pack it up and go. Richard says, sorry guys, have to go. Everyone stay safe. Well, thank you for stopping by. Please guys, make sure you're smashing the like button in here. Good conversation. I am enjoying it. I do feel a little bit more, I guess, less shitty than I did when I started the stream because I wasn't going to stream, I told you guys, but I was so... Last night I was bothered by it. I couldn't sleep well. I was up looking at shit on the internet and conversations, and I woke up today feeling just shitty because of the situation of our club, because I just feel like we keep going around in the same fucking circle and nothing seems to change, and I'm just so sick and tired of it. And I was just like, I think we all sort of need a vent therapy session. And I didn't want to wait till tomorrow to do it. So, bro, Chelsea picked Maresca and it worked immediately, just displaying the incompetency of Ineos. Ineos has to go. But again, to that Axe, it's not just picking Maresca though. Look at what they did personnel wise. It's a combination. I would make the argument. It's not. It's not. I don't believe it's so just manager wise, because that's not our situation, and I don't think that works like that. Like, yes, okay, picking the right guy will help and it will work, but it will only take us so far because we still need to address the personnel issue, and we can only do that under our circumstances. We can only do that with a certain amount of money in a certain amount of like time, you know. So that's still going to be an issue. It's still going to be an issue. It's not going to work as well. I mean, they chopped and changed managers, but they also chopped and changed all the players. We can't chop and change all the players. We've been stuck with some of them. Some of them we've made bad decisions. Like I said, we should have sold Bruno Fernandes and taken the 100 million. I still think we should have done it. I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's a huge mistake into the fact of, look what's happening. Bruno is not being the Bruno that he was a couple years ago. He's missing big chances. He's been letting us down this season. It's not all on him, but he's part of it. He is the captain. And I think they made a massive mistake in terms of, I just argued, to do what you got to do with what they chose to do, you need to get in as many players as possible, and you need to get as many players out and replace them and change the levels of the personnel of the club. And if you sell one guy, Bruno Fernandes, for 100 million, we could have used that money. What, why they didn't sell him to get 100 million, and they could have bought the fucking midfielders that they want to go get next summer, was a massive mistake, because now we're suffering because of it. And that has to go on Ineos and also Ruben, because Ruben wanted Bruno to stay, and Ineos agreed to it. Wilcox, Barada, and these guys, ultimately, they made the decision, because they could have been like, no, we think what's best for this football club and for the project is we are going to cash in on him 100, and we're going to get you the fucking players for that position. And sorry if you want him, but we're looking out for the betterment of the team and the project. And I've always said that's what they got to do. And they didn't do it. So they've massively fucked up there. Massively. Lyle says this has to be the most detrimental draw this club has ever seen with West Ham. I get it though. It's little things building up over time. Lyle, I think, it's sort of like the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's not one. It's little things that are building, and it's little things here. It's the decisions they made before. It's things that happened last season. It's decisions that Ruben's making or has made or is going to continue to make. It's the performances. These little things are building until at some point it explodes. And in one aspect, we've blown multiple opportunities. The opportunity is technically still there, but people are not believing that we're going to be able to sort this out. People are losing faith, or people have lost faith in it. So while technically paper-wise, table-wise, you look at it, it's still there. The belief that it's going to happen is either gone or it's really fading. And going forward, it's only either going to get maybe slightly better or worse. Because again, if you go to Wolves and you don't get 3 points at Wolves, it's only going to get worse. And if you go into the match after that and you don't get 3 points, it's going to get worse. And a draw isn't going to save him at this point in time. We've hit the point where it is now win, or it's over. It's done. So it's only going to get even more worse. So we score 1 goal in the last 2 home games. Well, we had this problem also. I mean, in previous seasons as well. So still an issue. Still something that's been happening over the course of 3 seasons or so. And whoever the new guy is that comes in, or that would come in if he was to get sacked, or when he gets sacked, they're still going to have to sort this out. And there's no evidence, or there's no logical way you can say it's guaranteed that they're going to get them to score goals. I hope they do. I hope they do. I hope they have an answer. I hope that they're well prepared, and I hope that they come in and they sort that out, because I would like to see it. I don't really give a shit who does it. I just, somebody come and do it. I don't have faith that anybody can really do it, because I think we have major problems in other areas that until we address them, I don't think any manager is going to be able to survive here. I don't think any manager is going to be able to succeed unless they're given the time, the tools, and the opportunity. But Axe says, no more patience. We need to win the UCL ASAP. We are united. This is our DNA. We are glorious. But this is what I'm talking about. We're not gonna. We can't. We can't. Like, on a level, I understand you. I do. I truly do. But how? Like, please explain to me. Explain to me how we do it in a realistic way for what we have going on right now. How do we achieve that? How does that actually come about? Because I just don't see it happening. There's no way that you can do it in 1 to 2 seasons with what we have to deal with right now. I just don't see it. Abraham Joseph says, I agree. They have misjudged the expectation of the fan base, but there is no manager that can bring us back. It's a process of minimum 3 years. And this is kind of where I sit, Abraham Joseph. This is where I sit, my friend. But we also have to try, and that could be our opinion, but we also have to try and understand our fellow, Reds. And we can't ignore them and we can't dismiss them because they are part of the fan base, and there's large groups of them that don't think that way and don't believe that and don't accept that and they don't want it. So we're going to have to deal with that as being in part of our fan base, and it does have an effect on the club, whether it's on the players or the manager, the whole thing. There's an impact happening here. If we get another manager, we will be here again in 18 months. We probably will. That's how I feel about it. We probably will. I don't even know if it'll take 18 months, to be quite honest. It depends who they get. Depending on who it is, we could be here in the same place anywhere from 6 to 18 months. It all depends on who they get. And everybody says, go get this guy. And you might be right into going and get that guy. But what makes you makes you think that they're going to get that guy? Or how can you be confident that they're going to get him? I can't be confident about that. I have no clue what they're going to do. I don't know how you can speak in such a manner that they're going to go do what you think is the best way, because there's no indication that they're going to do that. Right now, we're going off an old list. There's Xavi, Honeb, and maybe a couple others out there. I don't know if any of them can do it. My thinking behind it would possibly be, and I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'll sort of say it again, I think possibly, and maybe I'm wrong about this as well, but I think what could help us is if we get somebody with some sort of maybe Premier League experience that can help us in the now and give us some sort of stability. Somebody that has Premier League experience, somebody that knows the league, somebody that has managed in this league before. I would be willing to go down this route and try it out and see how it goes. Because I have nothing against foreign managers coming from other leagues. The Premier League is sort of built on that. They don't have to necessarily be English. That's not what I'm saying. But we have been trying to get managers from sort of all over the place. And the best that we've ever had is Mourinho, who was a serial winner or a winner in general. And he had success in the Premier League. And he was a very good manager. And that was the best we've ever done out of everybody that we've had. And then the second best is Ten Hag because he won trophies. So that doesn't go into that argument. But behind that would be Ali in terms of he had a second and it was good for a period of time and then it went bad. But he played in the Premier League and he knows Manchester United. So I think for a manager, and I'm not even really going to give you a name, or I don't really care about the name, but just in general, I think maybe a good choice would be somebody that has some sort of a Premier League experience to come into us, and so we can have stability. Because ultimately, what we ultimately need is stability. We need stability, and we need consistency. And if you get a manager, and it can't just be any manager they have to have certain qualities. But if you get somebody like that in, I think we probably have a better chance and probably maybe a smoother transition of getting stability and consistency into the club. Ray says, for me, the players go into relax mode when at home, and Ruben tries to defend a 1-0 lead this season. Yeah, I you know, again, the players, again, they are part of the problem. Like, they have to have a certain level on their own. It's not just only the manager. The manager obviously has to play a part, but they have to share responsibility. They can't be in relaxed mode. When they are on the pitch, they need to take responsibility in terms of dictating the game. Sometimes you got to take a call. Other players do it, and players have done it before, where they have taken sort of an executive decision on the pitch because they feel like that's what the team needs at that time. Somebody step up to the fucking plate and lead. We need a goal. We need to push more. Somebody start doing it. But they don't do it because we don't have leaders. We don't have leaders. We don't have people that want to take up this mantle. We don't. I said yesterday, if you look at the match, Lisandro Martinez has been missing for so long. He comes on. He is a fucking centre-back. A centre-back. Why was he one of the only guys, if not the only guy, that as soon as he came on, and he was on the pitch for like 7-8 minutes, why was he the only one picking up the ball, turning around, going forward and driving forward and trying to make something happen? Our centre-back is the guy doing this. The guy that has been not available for over a year. The guy that has just come back from injury is the one doing it. What about everybody else? It's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. Not gonna lie, I think Amorim has been found out and has absolutely no ability to change the game. I will take Erik ten Hag over Ruben. Well, I think that's obvious. He obviously did better, so. Lucky says, I'm back in the manager and think team will angry. They should look to get more goals. I don't know, Lucky. I don't feel that way. I don't think that these guys have what it takes. I don't. I think there's too many of them that don't have what it takes. Because to me, it's like, if that's the case, they should be doing it all the time. And they clearly can't do it all the time. It's like a light switch. And you can't trust them. Like, Roy Keane said, you can't trust them. You shouldn't trust them. We've said that before. And I think it spilled over to Ruben as well. I don't think he trusts them. I don't know if they trust each other. And they might not be trusting themselves. And I don't trust them to get angry, to look to get more goals. Because where was it yesterday? Where was it yesterday? And they couldn't figure that out. They didn't have that feeling of sort of an urgency, of like a need, of like, we gotta go fucking do something. We gotta risk it. And maybe it stems from the manager as well. Or, I won't even say maybe. It'll stem from the manager as well. But I've played in teams, and we're not on a professional level, but I've played in teams where, my high school coach he wasn't a football guy first. He did it because he knew the sport a little bit, but he was a lacrosse guy, which is an American sport. If you guys don't know what lacrosse is, but it's that little thing with the stick with the net, and you throw it into the goal. And his tactics were shit. And his idea of playing, I shit you not, we used to play games, and his tactics and idea was get the ball, kick it to the corner flag, run after it, and when you get to the corner flag, put the ball into the box, which is like the most basic old school level of shit. It was no intricacy. And I can tell you that I was part of a team that we were all very experienced. We played the sport for our whole lives, and they were all my friends. And I grew up with these guys. And do you know how many matches we went into and we tried to play his way? We go to halftime, it's not working. We get on the pitch, we do a huddle, and we say, all right, fuck this guy and fuck his tactics. We're going to do it our way. And then we end up going and winning the match. And I'm not saying they have to totally defy the manager, but in certain situations, when you're on the pitch, sometimes you gotta go and make the call and say, he wants me to do this, but we're not going up high enough. And you deal with it after. Have a blowout with him, have an argument, get into a shouting match with him after. Tell him, listen, we weren't doing enough. I disagree. We needed to move forward. I was trying to get us to win. I was trying to get the team to do something. We're not fucking, we're not making things happen. Deal with the consequences after. But to sit there and do nothing and have no sense of urgency, you're not a United player at the end of the day. We already had a 310 and we bought 2 more. That's bad business on me. Well, the point of that is, I don't think it's necessarily bad business in the fact of if you're looking to upgrade. The part that's bad is that you didn't get rid of the other ones, and then you kept them, and didn't, because ideally what you do is, even if you have 3 number 10s, if you get 2 more, get rid of 2 of the 3 you have, take the money for them, and then go buy other positions. I think that's the bad business. I don't necessarily disagree with looking to upgrade positions, because I think we always have to continue to upgrade. This squad is not good enough for what it is, and we always have to look to upgrade because everybody is always upgrading. The Premier League, football in general, every team, every transfer window is always upgrading. There's different levels. Some need major upgrading. Some need minimal upgrading. But they're always upgrading. Liverpool win the league, they go to upgrade. They made too many changes. They're suffering from it. And maybe Slot's being exposed because it was Klopp's team. Whatever. Arsenal win the league this season. Arsenal aren't going to be like, we won the league, we don't need anybody. They're going to get rid of a couple players. They're going to bring in some new players. There's nothing wrong with looking to upgrade, but it's about how you plan it out. Buying 2 10s, if we had 3 10s, they should have removed 2 of the 10s that were there that clearly they deemed weren't good enough, because that's why we're getting 2 new 10s. So that to me is the bad business right there. Is that we didn't remove the players. We didn't get money for them and then go and put it in a different aspect. That to me is the bad business. Axe says it's clear, Carrick until the summer, then Tuchel or Nuggets in no excuse. Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm not really going to do this whole thing, but Carrick till the summer, if that's the option we got to do, then it's the option we got to do. And then on top of that, I like Nuggets more. I've always wanted Nuggets. I think Nuggets can be good, but he's going to face a lot of problems. And I still think Nuggets, as much as I like him, and I think he would be good, and I wanted Nuggets before we got Ten Hag. I wanted Nuggets instead of Ten Hag. And we got Ten Hag. And I still went with Ten Hag anyway, because I will back every guy that comes through this door. For the most part, unless your name is Gareth Southgate, I'm not backing you. But I still think, even if you get Nuggets, or even if you get Tuchel, with the way we operate and the problems that we have, I still think it's going to take three summer windows, 3 to 4. I still think it'll take that amount of time. So we bring Nuggets. I'm willing to give him that amount of time. He's got to try and earn it. He's got to try and, keep himself in a position where it's acceptable for him to stay. But there's no way that he's not going to struggle at periods. There's no way that there's not going to be times where it's going to go bad, if that even happens, if we can even get him, if he even wants to come to us, because we're sort of in an area where there are certain managers that it doesn't matter what we offer them, they don't want to fucking come anywhere near us. So even if we want them as much as we would want them, and as much as maybe we think they would be good for us, we still need them to want to come to us. So that's a whole nother thing as well. He's not going to get full control. We're not running like that. Teams aren't running like that. Maresca doesn't have full control. Pep doesn't even have full control to a certain extent. Arteta doesn't have full control. Vincent Kompany doesn't have full control. All the teams are moving away from managers having full control. We've moved away from that. Ruben doesn't have full control. And I think that's probably why Tuchel won't come here, because he won't agree without having full control, and we're not going to give it to him. In a realistic way, we get rid of Amorim. This was my question before. Ineos and Glazers implement a fan ownership model, hire back Ashworth, and hire Tuchel on the next summer. Yeah, but in a realistic way, I mean, we're not getting rid of Ineos and Glazers. And I think, like I said, I think the only way that they go is not us pushing them out of the door, but they just, this whole thing that they're doing needs to totally collapse and fall out from under them, where it gets so bad that they get into a position where they just want to leave and go. But there's this whole new stadium thing coming along, and that's going to generate a shit ton of money. So, and the Glazers are getting it done for free in terms of they're not paying for it. So from that aspect, I find it hard for me to see them leave, unless financially, I'm not a financial expert, but listen, if you sort of, if Ineos goes and the Glazers go, listen, we can sell to whoever's coming in. Listen, we're building you a brand new stadium. It's going to generate a lot of money. And, on paper, it makes the club look better, and maybe it makes the club more valuable, and they can sell it like that. Maybe then they'll get out, because they can get a premium price. The only way the Glazers will go is when they get their premium price. And if they can't get the premium price, they're not gonna go. They will stick around. They will stick around, to the detriment of they will stay even if it fucking collapses all the way to the bottom. They will not sell it a low. And I know they already stand to make a profit no matter what they sell it at, but their view of a profit is, it's not about what it's valued now. It's about the value of it in 10 years. Because if they really want to, they can hold it for the next 50 if they want. So their profit would come in terms of, we're not going to take it at a loss now, because we still believe that in the next 10 years, it's going to be worth this amount of money. If you don't give us that money, we ain't going. Axe says, I refuse to believe that this squad has plateaued, that there's absolutely no way we can get better. I will say, I don't think that it's that we can't get better, and that there is 0% that you can get better. I just don't, I think the real question is, how much better? And in that percentage of how much better, how good enough is that? Because I don't think it can go as high as some people believe it can. And I think some people believe that it can go extremely high to a certain level of basically where we're at. In my opinion, it's extremely high. And I don't think it can. Absolutes saying that it's plateaued and that it can go no higher is not realistic. It can definitely improve. But how much higher and how good enough is that? And I don't think it is very good or very high enough for those high top expectations that people are demanding. So my whole thing is if that's what you want to reach, and ultimately that's where we all want to go. We're all about taking different processes and, different paths to get there, but ultimately everybody wants to get there. It's just about how we're getting there, how long it's taking. And my thing to the people that believe that it can be done way quicker, I don't think it can, because of the level of the squad. Sanchi with another super chat, thank you, my friend, says, what do we do if we lose against Wolves? Well, if we lose against Wolves, I mean, we're obviously going to lose our shit, and people are going to get more angry, and, this sort of vibe around United is only going to get more negative and more toxic. And the calls for the sack are going to, probably triple, quadruple. For me, you can't lose to fucking Wolves. For me, if you lose against Wolves, there's literally no coming back from that. Because I think if you lose to Wolves, even if he doesn't get sacked right after that, and people will ask for him to be sacked right after that, I think in general, even if you continue with him, I think the detriment of losing to Wolves, the negative impact that it will have on him, the squad, and everybody else that's involved in this football club, I think it will bring you so down and so much further down, and you're already struggling to sort of stay afloat, that I don't think you come back from that. So whether it would be immediately or it's going to be prolonged, but I don't think you come back from that. I think that's sort of a nail in the coffin. I don't think you can afford. He can't afford to lose to Wolves. Even if everybody around us that's involved in this sort of battle for the top four, even if everybody drops points, I don't think you can come back from that. I think after that, it's sort of one of those things that we've talked about, in that the repercussions you will have to pay the consequences of what comes out of that. And that is similar to the consequences that we would have to pay if we didn't win the Europa League, and we're paying them now, and we paid some in the summer, and we're paying some now. And I think losing to Wolves has consequences in its own like that, and you will have to pay them. So I don't know, what's going to happen. We'll see. I hope we don't lose. There's people out there that are going to hope to lose because they want him sacked, but I don't ever want my team to lose. I want my team to win, and I want my team to do good. Because at the same time, I can understand if you feel like this manager, we need to move on for him so we could do better, so we need to lose so we can get him out so that we can be better. But I don't like cheering for my team to lose. I just want my team to win. I don't want to continue losing. I just want them to win. So I hope we win. But if we lose, he's going to have to pay the consequences of that. And Ineos are going to have to do something. Like, there's no way, they can try and be silent. They can try and wait this out for so long. But at some point, something's got to give. And I think if he loses to Wolves, I don't see how the players continue to get up for the matches after that. And obviously, all the competition after Wolves is harder because Wolves is the worst team. So if you falter against Wolves, I don't see how they find anything in themselves to rise up and go and then start, getting results against other teams that we quite clearly need. So I think at some point, that's it. Whether it be Wolves or to be the match after that, because then I don't expect the team to get results. If you lose into Wolves, I don't expect the team to go and get a response in the next match, and I don't expect them to get a team in the next match. So I think it's done. But we just got to wait and see how it goes. Elias says, why the hell are we saying Nuggets? Nagelsmann, stop. But he calls it Nuggets. Ruben out of 5 minutes after the game. Well, many people will say that's what should happen. I think if you lose to Wolves, I think you can't lose to Wolves. So I think it should probably happen. But if you ask me if it's going to happen, I can't tell you. Because I don't know what the fucking Eos are going to do. They are ones that you just don't know. Like, most people, practically everybody will say he's got to go. There's always going to be people that are going to stick by his side. But when I think about Ineos, and I think about them making the decision, I don't have confidence that they will actually do it. So I don't know if it'll happen. Glasner, Bournemouth manager, reject all Manchester United fans, please. Toxicity. Keep standards in pockets. Is it autocorrect, Dax? I thought you nicknamed him Nuggets. If we lose against Wolverhampton, I will go full, yeah, Jupiter. Andresito says, Ineos got it wrong. It seems like Omar Barada, Daniel Wilcox, and Amorim out. Well, they've got it wrong for sure. I mean, look at how it's going. I don't think anybody can say that they've gotten it right, because if they've gotten it right, we wouldn't be where we are. So I think quite clearly they've gotten it wrong. I think they've gotten multiple things wrong. Now, I don't know, because I don't know how the decisions are necessarily made, into what percentage, and who's responsible for you know, what parts. Like, how much of the blame goes on Sir Jim? You're going to put it all on him because he's the one that, you know, put this all together. How much of the blame do you put on, of the blame do you put on Wilcox? Is, you know, did Wilcox, is Wilcox making this, was he part of decisions that they got wrong? Did he oppose them and he was overruled because it's some sort of majority? Omar Barada. Unfortunately, we're not going to get these answers because we're not on the inside of that. So we don't know what the fuck has actually gone on. And they're only going to tell us what they want us to know. So we're never going to get the full picture. We're never going to get the full answers to this unless shit starts leaking out of the club. And then also, you know how it is. There's always going to be some sort of PR from one side to the other side. So, you know, I don't know. But as a collective, as a whole, without splitting the blame, they have gotten it together. Now, I don't know, you rip the whole thing apart, because maybe some of them aren't actually bad at their jobs. But maybe the unit, as it's put together, is not doing a great job. So do you change part of it? Do you need to change the whole thing? I'm not so sure about that. Maybe Jason Wilcox isn't really good at his job. Maybe he's all right at his job, and maybe it's Omar. Maybe it's somebody else. You know, I like for Vivell. I don't think Vivell. I think Vivell is probably the best guy we have, as far as I can see. I don't know, you know, to what level of decision and impact he has. But I think Vivell is probably the best guy we got. I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Vivell. But in my opinion, I mean, if you're Sir Jim and you're being serious about this, and you actually want it to work, and this collective has made massive mistakes and they've gotten it wrong, I don't think you can keep the collective as the way it is. You would have to probably shake it up as well. And maybe he gives them one more opportunity. Maybe it's sort of, I mean, I guess they're already past 3 strikes, but two managers, two manager decisions, third one, 3 strikes, you're out. I don't know what they do and how they go, and, you know, what they go, the way they go about it. But there was a couple things other than that I just wanted to hit on in terms of, oh, people will love this. People will love this. So, just seeing this right now. Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes have been added to the Legends list on the official club site. Well, that's going to go down well with a lot of fans. So, the official Manchester United site, where you click on the Legends tab, because it shows you all the players. We have the men's, the women's, under 21s, under 18s. There's a Legends tab on the official club site. Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford have been added to this list. Alongside of, from what I can see in this picture, I'm sure there's more, but from the picture I can see, there is David Hurd, Cristiano Ronaldo, Tommy Taylor, Bruno Fernandes, Brian Robson, Lou Macari. I'm sure there's more, but I can't. From the screenshot they put up, that's what I see. I'm sure that's going to go really down well. You know, the club is, they are so not reading the room on a lot of shit right now. We're sort of in the period that if I was there, I would be telling them to sort of be shutting the fuck up in a certain sense and not doing things, because no matter what they do at this point, people are just going to give straight hate. And, I don't know, they're doing things that are only going to piss people off more by doing that, because obviously Bruno is very divisive, and even Marcus Rashford to a certain extent was divisive, and it's very split on these two guys, and they just added them as legends under a time where people are pissed off. Ruben Amorim out. They're looking at Ineos. They're saying Ineos out, or they're pissed at Ineos. And the club go and do something like this, where they add two players who have been very divisive in the fan base and split opinion, and they've added them to the Legends tab for the club. I think the backlash on this is going to be very negative. It seems like Kobbie's going to go out on loan, from what they're saying. And at this point, just get him out on loan. And the thing is for Kobbie, I mean, at this current rate, if you are Kobbie, go on loan. Maybe you feel some type of way from the club. Maybe you don't, because maybe he still loves the club. So maybe he doesn't take it to heart against the football club itself. And maybe it's just against Ruben. But best bet circumstance, with the way things are going, get to January, go on loan, go play. Maybe get into the World Cup squad. And the highest probability is you're going to outlive this manager and he's going to get sacked. So go on loan, you come back, and you got a different guy. And you'll have different shit going on. Maybe maybe the guy that they get still doesn't pick him, which in that case, then, you're going to have to deal with it at that circumstance. But most people would probably argue you get somebody else in, they're going to put him straight into the team. So but as far as I see, he's still not asking for a permanent move. And United are not looking to permanently sell him, in terms of that they're not shopping that. It's all a loan. So people can run with this and say he should leave, he should go, he's going to leave. It's all fine, but I mean, we're not getting that. It's still a loan. Because I still think, regardless of how he feels with this guy, and I guess the treatment aspect, I still think that he wants to stay here, ultimately, because I think he loves this football club, and I think he wants to have a career here, and I don't think he wants to leave at 20. I think he wants to stay. I think if he wants to go, he would literally ask right now for a permanent move. And as we've seen, there's a story that comes out that says there's about 12 clubs interested in him. So it's not like he's only asking for a loan because he could only get a loan. If he really wants to leave, then just ask for a permanent deal. He'll have no problem finding a club in terms of looking to buy him. So he could do it right now. But he's not doing it right now. So this is my whole thing. So until I see something like that, now, what could also happen in that circumstance is, if a club comes and puts in like an actual bid to buy him at a certain amount of money, then maybe in that instant, United agreed to do it. Or maybe he agrees to take up that offer and go with it. But as far as it's being reported, we haven't officially like listed him. Maybe we're holding that stance to try and get the most money. But in terms of from his side, I mean, I'm pretty sure his agent would be going to the press and putting it out there that Kobbie is looking for a permanent move, and we haven't received any of that news. All that keeps coming out is that it's a loan, like he's always asked for from the summer all the way through till now. So that would lead me to believe that he just wants to get out of here temporarily. He'll come back, and maybe he's even looking at it like, you're probably not going to survive, so I can go away and I'll probably outlast you, which is what happens with a lot of between players and managers, because he's still contracted for another 3 seasons, I believe. And if you're going to sort of wait it out to the point of I can go on loan and go play, and maybe he's looking at it and he's like, by the time my loan ends and come back, you probably won't even be here if he doesn't believe in him, you know what I mean? And he's not rating him, and he's not rating Amorim, then he could be looking at it that way as well. So, there was a couple things that I just wanted to hit on that was like sort of reported or came out in the discussion. Well, apparently Sully Talks has come back out 3 hours ago and said that actually Mason Mount was not one of the 2 players Amorim said were in doubt, nor was he injured. So now I don't know what's going on, because he says it's not, the other guy said it was. So who the fuck was it? The only one we know clearly is Dalot. You know, why can't they just tell us now? It's already happened. Just set the story straight. Somebody at United just come out and fucking put it out, because we can't be having this sort of back and forth. We can't be having this back and forth in the club while this shit's going on. Like, just put it out for whatever it is. Chris Wheeler is saying Manchester United are among the admirers of Nottingham Forest, Elliot Anderson, and Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, but could return for Baleba or Gallagher, and have also talked about Bournemouth's Tyler Adams and Wolves midfielder João Gomez. Napoli remain interested in signing Mainoo until the end of the season, and are one of 12 clubs from England, Italy, Spain, and Germany that have expressed interest in acquiring his services. Mainoo's hopes of leaving could depend on United signing a midfielder in January, after having blocked his departure in the summer when deals for Brighton's Carlos Baleba and Atletico Madrid's Conor Gallagher failed to materialize. Well, again, still on them, because you had a guy you could have sold for 100 million. You could have just bought Baleba right outright. And you could have probably bought somebody else. And to me, again, it gives me the indication, whatever Ruben thinks of him, the rest of them don't want to sell him, because they didn't want to let him go on loan. And if they really wanted the money and they didn't want to sell Bruno, they could have just sold Kobbie, because clearly he has people that are willing to buy him. He's probably the most sought after player we possibly have. And he is an academy player, so it's pure profit. So even if you sold Kobbie for 60, it's like 120. And they could have taken that money and got in Baleba and Conor Gallagher. And they didn't do that. So irrespective of the manager, I don't believe the club are looking to permanently sell him. They don't want to. And I don't think he's looking to permanently leave as it stands. We ought to keep Mainoo over Amorim, let's be real. Well, I think it'll happen like that anyway, because it's always happened like that, Axe. Like, players, especially in today's time, outlive the manager. Like, 90% of the time. 95% of the... Like, the way things are going right now, unless Kobbie changes his mind, or the club changes their mind, the trajectory is that Kobbie is contracted here for 3 years. If he wants to stay, he'll stay. And with the things that are going with Ruben, he won't be here for... He's not gonna last, you know. And Kobbie will stay and Ruben will go. Like, it's trending in that direction already right now as things stand. So, I mean, Wan-Bissaka should have got a fucking red there. I mean, that just popped up on me here. Hold on. I need to pull this up. He isn't the one to be sold, Irjam. Well, I don't think he should be sold. I wouldn't agree with that at all. Again, I've always said there's different aspects. I don't think there's maybe a certain problem if you don't necessarily start him, but he should be at the very minimum a sub that's being used, and he should be like sort of more important to the squad than he has been. And Ruben's way of like Bruno playing in that midfield, it's not really working for him, so he doesn't have he doesn't actually have a leg to stand on in this argument. Because it's one thing of, if you're not picking Kobbie and you're not really using him, but we're in second place and we're winning, he has more of an argument, because then his way is working. Whether you like it or not, and whether you think that would be right, at least his way would be working, and it's you know, getting results. His way isn't working, and then he's also doing what he's doing, and he's not even seriously like using Kobbie in like a correct way. Like he's not really a set sub. Like, you can be sort of like for example, like Solskjaer was always a sub, yeah? But he was always given a chance, and he was always sort of considered as like the extra man. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you don't get on with 11, but you're sort of the 12th. And if that's the case, I don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing in the world. And I think from that point on, you know, for a guy at his age, it doesn't stay that way forever. And maybe next season it changes. But that's not what's happening. And you know, it's just it's sort of fucked up, and he's getting it wrong. Like he is. It's wrong. It's wrong. The way he's going about it is wrong. Because he's doing it in a manner of that he's like, to the point that he doesn't rate Kobbie, he's like, me putting him in this game with this specific opposition, it's not going to give me what I need from the team, so I'm not putting him in. And this is where everybody disagrees, and they're like, no, he should literally always be, at the very least, if he's not starting, he should always be basically the next guy to come onto the pitch. He should be getting onto the pitch every time. I agree with that. I agree with the fact that it's one thing not to start him. It's another thing that he is sort of this weird, like, you only use him when you decide that you think it's worth it, and that you're sort of rating him in terms of that he can't have an impact on this game. I don't agree with that. I think for what we have, if it doesn't work the way it's going, to decide that he can't have an impact in the game when the game isn't going our way is totally wrong. It's totally wrong. It's totally 100% wrong, the way he's gone about it. There was sort of a way to maybe go down the middle on this a little bit and not alienate so many people about it, but he's gone so one-sided to it that he's lost the argument in that. So, there is a couple more things here, like, let me see. And this was one of the things, like, he sort of said when I was talking about earlier, We've signed a 16-year-old goalkeeper, Charlie Hardy from Derby County, so that's another one in there, going in there. But this was what I was talking about, this quote. I think we've all seen it, but, you know, I seen this. I didn't accept this answer. I think there's a bunch of holes in here. And I don't really buy what he specifically said here. Because he said, you know, when he started talking about Mainoo, he said, you always ask me the same thing. And he said, I understand what you're saying. You love Kobbie, which you can interpret that as he doesn't love Kobbie. But he said, you love Kobbie. He starts for England. But that doesn't mean I need to put Kobbie when I feel I shouldn't put Kobbie. Now, to a certain extent, I can understand what he's saying there. But he then goes on to say, you have Ugarte who played 2 games. One of them, Casemiro, was out. Bruno is always fit. He's the guy who is playing his position, so maybe it has to do with that. And that second part is where I call bullshit and I don't buy it. Because the first part, listen, right or wrong, again, you can argue if he's right or wrong about that all day. But I can take that as an acceptable answer, because if he's the manager and he doesn't feel like he should be putting Kobbie in, then whatever comes out of that, he has to deal with sort of the consequences or the repercussions to come out of that if he's not getting results and he doesn't feel like, you know, that's his decision. And if he wins, then he's justified. If he doesn't win, then he's got to take the pelters for it. But where he loses me and where he lost that whole fucking argument is this part where he says you have Ugarte who played 2 games. One of them, Casemiro, was out. Bruno is always fit. He's the guy who's playing his position, so maybe it has to do with that. First of all, I will say, what the fuck does it mean? So maybe it has to do with that. What is maybe it has to do with that? Give the direct answer. You are making the decision. How are you speaking in a manner like you are us, trying to decipher what the fuck is going on? And also, I don't buy that, and that's a totally bullshit answer, because yesterday, Bruno is always fit. You moved Bruno up and took him out of the position that you're talking about is playing his position, and you didn't put him in. So why didn't you just give the straight answer? Is my whole thing. Why didn't you give the straight answer? Because the first part, I can accept it as an answer. Don't have to agree with it, don't have to like it, but it makes sense. But that second part is total nonsense, total bullshit. Total bullshit. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't check out. He lost the argument by saying this whole thing here. He lost the whole argument. He lost me on that. He lost all the fans with that. It doesn't make sense. Apparently, Collier has a fairly serious injury, which is unfortunate for him. He's currently at United. They're examining him, and when a lone player gets injured, it's normal for his club to examine him. We are in discussions and hope that he can return in better shape. So he is injured. He's not even playing. So I didn't even know that. I haven't been keeping track with these guys like that. Fabrizio came out hours ago saying United keeps supporting Ruben Amorim's work at this point of the season. I mean, I didn't expect anything else to come out and for them to say anything else at this current moment in time. My whole thing to that will be, if he can't get wins from this point forward, and he doesn't sustain a run, and he can't get the club to be in a more solid, consistent position, then the club will run out of time and opportunity to keep supporting him. So that's just where we're at. We're at the crossroads here. We've hit the crossroads. It's literally, we've talked about this earlier in the season. We've talked about it at different points, but it's literally do or die at this point, because you're either going to do it or you're not. And if you don't do it, there's no way that they can continue to keep you here. They will be backed into a corner and they will be forced into it, whether they like it or not. And they're gonna have to do it. So, Kobbie Mainoo could leave United next month as Napoli and more clubs are keen on a loan deal. That was from Fabrizio. Fabrizio also said, I will not be surprised Ruben Amorim could eventually in the next months start to include JJ Gabriel in the first team squad, showing the trust they have in him. United are doing their best to protect and keep him at the club. Well, I'm going to tell you what. If that happens, I think that's being forced upon him. But I'm going to be quite honest. Because quite clearly, he's made it quite clear that his whole idea is experienced, and he believes these experienced players, Bruno, Cass, and everybody else, they gave him the best opportunity to win the match on that day. And next month, JJ Gabriel can start to be included in the first team squad. And if that happens, I think it's being forced upon him, because I think they're basically telling him there's too much fucking attention on this kid. He has too many options, and we don't want to lose him. So you're gonna have to fucking put him in to please him so that he doesn't leave us, because other clubs will maybe promise and offer him something we're not giving him. And they are quite clearly desperate to keep this kid. So if it happens, I'm going to be honest, at this current moment in time, I don't think it's not going to be something of his doing, in terms of Fabrizio's telling us he won't be surprised if Ruben eventually in the next month starts to include JJ Gabriel. But I don't think that's Ruben saying, I want to include this kid because of his level, because I think that's going to give me the best option. I think that's coming from the club, Jason Wilcox and maybe others, saying, you need to include this kid because we can't stand to lose him, because he is a top talent. And while you might want to be using this experience, the club has decided that you need to involve him. Because if we involve him, we make him feel more wanted, and we make him feel, and we give ourselves a better opportunity in holding on to him. And we're giving him sort of hope and a feeling that he has a real pathway to the first team. But I don't agree with Fabrizio saying that it's Ruben that's eventually going to start using him. I think that it's being forced upon him. We can't let Mainoo leave. That would be our biggest mistake in EPL history. I think for right now, Axe, I think under the current circumstances, unless he gets sacked before the loan happens, I think best circumstances, we loan him. Let him go on loan. Let him do it. And let Ruben do whatever he's going to do while he's still here. And let him deal with the decision of his choices. Because he's not using him. He's not playing time. He's losing out on development. And if you're looking out for the best interest of Kobbie Mainoo, then you let him leave, because Ruben is not budging on this. And he doesn't give a fuck to budge on it. And he's not showing any signs that he's going to budge on it. So if that's the case, and these guys are not going to sack him, then we need to let Kobbie go on loan. I don't think if we let Kobbie go on loan, I don't think that means that he's gone forever. So I think in the best interest for Kobbie specifically, he's got to go on the loan. They got to let Ruben deal with the choices that he's made and what's to come out of that. And then we go from there. Because I think the way things are going, by the time Kobbie goes on loan and comes back, Ruben won't be here. So when Ruben's not here, then it's a different game, yeah? And I'm sure Kobbie will take consideration into that. And if they're smart, and if they're smart, and if they're serious, Ineos, and they actually do the proper thing, whoever they get in, it should be some sort of, not to guarantee, but it should align with the fact of that they would be looking to use him and that he can actually fit the system and grow and play into that. Because I don't think they foresaw this. I think they overlooked this because I think they thought that Kobbie would be able to be involved in this system. I don't think they actually had concerns about this, but I think there's probably a standoff right now in the fact of that they quite clearly view youthful players, and I don't think they think Kobbie is a bad player, but quite clearly the manager doesn't believe that he can play and work and fit in his system. So I think there is a big disagreement over that. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, there's no way you sell him. If you sell him, I'll come to Jupiter with you on that. There's no way you sell him, Axe. Axe, if we sell him, they're gonna have to get the full wrath and the full fury of every Manchester United player, every Manchester United fan. There's no way you sell him. There's no way you sell him. It wasn't okay to sell him because we needed pure profit. It's not okay to sell him because Ruben doesn't rate him. You don't sell him. You know, I've always said it's one thing if you don't think he's a starter right now. It's another thing to not work with him, to not give him opportunities, to be erratic with him, to be weird about it, to not be clear on what the fuck is going on. Because, you know, I will put this on him. Like, he could easily just set the record straight. But now he's choosing, because it seems like he's being... it seems like he's being quite vindictive against the media, because it seems like he believes that the media are picking on him about Kobbie because Kobbie is a young English guy. But I don't think Ruben understands that the fans, the large majority, and that he talks about the fans always, and he talked about that we have to be together and all this. I don't think he understands that the fans hold the same opinion. I think he thinks that the media is hitting him on this angle, kind of like how they tried to hit him in the past with Marcus Rashford, how they did it with Garnacho, and how they did it with the system. I don't think he actually knows or understands that the fan base is quite pissed, and basically almost the entire fan base is pissed over what he's doing with Kobbie. I don't think he understands that. I think he's being... the way he's responding about it, I think he's doing it because I think he's trying to tell the media to go fuck themselves, because I think he's thinking it's coming solely from the media because they're trying to get a story from him. And they're trying to hit an angle, and they're trying to get a hit piece over it. I don't think he's I don't think he's actually fully aware that the fans, and if he is, that just means that he just doesn't give a fuck what we think either, which is obviously not good, because then he's not doing what he sort of preached in terms of trying to be aligned and sticking together as a unit between him, the players, and the fans. So any rational player, any rational manager would use Mainoo. Unless you actually believe that he just doesn't work for you, you know. And I think that's what we're saying. I think, as stubborn as he is, and as wrong as he is about this, I do think that he truly believes that he's like, this kid doesn't work for what I need. And so, what you're viewing as irrational, he's viewing it rational. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I get what you're saying, but our perspective is so totally different than his perspective. So he's irrational because your rationality is the opposite of him. And he's looking at it like what he's doing is rational. And the other way is irrational to him. It's like total opposite. It's like total opposite. Lucky says he doesn't rate Kobbie either. You don't rate Kobbie either. I disagree with you on that, my friend. I think Kobbie. I've always believed, from the second I saw Kobbie touch the pitch, I always believed with the proper development path, and putting in the work, I think Kobbie could always be top 5 midfielder in the world at some point. And I still think he can. I don't think it's too late. He's only 20. And I think if we get him back on track and we start developing him properly, and he does all the things he needs to do in terms of his own self-development as well, I think by the age of 23, you can actually deem him probably one of the top midfielders. I think he can get there at sort of that age. Although, I would have said that maybe a year ago. I think maybe now you might have to delay it a year because obviously this season, where would the development come from? So 24, I'd push it back to. He goes, yes, but he's literally next in line to become Paul Scholes. How can you not suit him into the team? Well, my whole argument on this, and he sort of said it in a certain way, and I think it shows his viewpoint on it, is that for right now, he doesn't rate him for right now. And he would like to probably take a longer process because he's looking for answers now and he needs to get results now. And I think when he's judging him, he's like, right now, he doesn't have it. And maybe he's even going as far as, I don't have time for him to sort of figure out and develop and learn because I need it now. And he doesn't have it now. And to go sort of through that process of if he's going to be the next Paul Scholes, is he going to get that in, like, I don't know, let's just say 6 months? What do you have gotten maybe to the level throughout the season if he just started with him? It could be yes, could be no. But I think his answer where he talked about Shea Lacey, because when he talked about Mainoo, and he comes, and then they also asked him about Shea Lacey. And when he went on to start speaking about Shea Lacey, and he says, sometimes when Mbeumo is not there, I put Ahmad there because I have other wingbacks to play, and sometimes it's hard. So you're asking me why I don't put Lacey to play when I have other guys that are internationals, and also they are on the bench. I tried to put the best guys, the prepared guys, for this moment of the club and try to win a game. That's the only thing. And when you take that statement, I don't think he's lying in that statement. I don't think that statement is bullshit. I think he truly believes that. I think he truly believes that in his mind, that is the most rational possible way. And if you take that as a fact, if you take that as a fact for him, if you take that as his actual viewpoint and it's real, that shows you the sole indication that not only goes to Shea Lacey, it goes to Aiden Heaven. It goes to Kobbie Mainoo. It goes to whatever other young player you want. This, to me, this statement here, he is clearly saying to everybody that there are young players that they have potential, but we have experienced internationals that are already ahead of them in all of this process, and I'm looking to win a match now. And so I have other guys that I can use. These guys are further down the pecking order because they give me the best chance to get the results now. They are internationals. They're more prepared. They've played more games. They should be more consistent. They should be more smarter. This is his whole thing. And what's a bit fucked up about this that I find is that if you just do a quick Google search, right? If you do a quick Google search, over his 4 years at Sporting, he brought through 24 youth players. And he's come to United, and his total is 0 at this moment in time. So, I need to go. I'm extremely tired, and tomorrow I have a course online. I need to go to sleep. AMORIM out anyway. Well, good night, buddy. Take care. Be good. I'm gonna get out of here too because I gotta go as well. But yeah, just to finish out that final point. I mean, that just seems to be his point of view of where he's coming from. He just in this moment in time, and I think it's all about time. Good night, Glaze is out. Yep, Glaze is out. One day, hopefully, I pray. But it just seems like it's all about time. He doesn't have enough time. The timing of the things he's doing is wrong. I think time is a big factor here. The timing is wrong. We don't have enough time in terms of opportunities to play kids. Everything is all... It's all wrong. It's all wrong. It's all wrong. We don't have matches. He's looking for results now. He's viewing the younger guys as something that he can't use as an answer for now. He knows he needs to get results now. The club need results now. He's not looking at them as an answer to now. He's looking at them as something that he can use later down the line. But it also doesn't really make sense because in terms of these guys are letting you down now, you won't even give them sort of a sniff, not even a chance, not even just, why not just say, fuck it? Even if it's for one match, just say, fuck it. Just be like, look at how we're doing. Look at how some of these guys are performing. Look at how we're not getting the results. They're leaving you angry. They're leaving you pissed off. And so why? Just for even just one match, just put him in there. Just put him in there. Because even if you look for them for a longer term and you say, this season isn't the season, this season is the season that we don't have a lot of matches to play. We don't have many opportunities. There's not much need for a rotation in terms of fitness levels. They should be able to be not tired and play every week consistently 90 minutes. Even if that's the case, even if you say United, even if you say, for example, Kobbie Mainoo, like, for this season, it's going to be a rough one for him, but, in the next 1 or 2 seasons, and you say, yeah, it'll go well for me. We'll have a good season and I'm going to still be here. And I look to use him in the season after that, the next season, and the season after that. You're still shooting it in the foot because if you plan to use him in the future, or you're looking to use him in the future, you're still stunting his growth now. So you're only hurting the future prospect down the line as well. So it doesn't make sense in that. Lucky says Mason Mount, Cunha, Ahmad Diallo, Diogo, Dalot, guys. We score more Wolverhampton. Well, listen, we're playing the worst team in the league. They have 0 wins. I don't even know what their goal difference is. We're away from home, but I don't even give a shit about the away from home and not playing good away from home in this circumstance. They are the worst team in the league by far. I mean, what is the point difference? What is the point difference here? Wolves have 2 points. They have literally 2 draws and 12 losses. We have 22 points. If we can't score goals and we can't win against Wolves at the bottom of the table with 0 wins, 2 points, and 2 draws, then it's just game over. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I don't care if we're playing this match in Antarctica. They should absolutely be scoring goals, and they should absolutely be winning this match. And if they can't do that, then it's just game over at that point. it's game over. So we look to score more. They did. Not even we look to score more. They better score more for Ruben's sake and their sake, and I guess our sake as well. They better score more. They have to score more. They don't have a choice at this point. So, anyway, listen, it's really late. For anybody that's still here on the other side of the world, appreciate you being here. It is the weekend, but still, it is quite late, and some people still have to do work things or wake up early just because it's a Friday and just because tomorrow's a Saturday. So, I greatly appreciate everybody getting involved. It was very, very, on my part, well-needed sort of therapy session. I think the conversation was very, very excellent today, and a lot of good points, a lot of things. I tried to do my best to keep up with sort of the chat, but a lot of people had a lot of things to say, and I had a lot of things to say as well. So, but I still think it was very good. Shout out to all of you. Thank you for the support as always. Lyle says still working. Had you on the background. Yeah, I figured a couple people had me on in the background, which is fine. It's all right. I appreciate this support regardless. Whether you get involved in the chat or you got me on in the background, and either way, you're supporting the channel either way. So I greatly appreciate it. And listen, I'll do the live tomorrow as well. We'll do a little bit of a preview. Maybe a bit of a further therapy session if we need it. It won't be as long as today, but we'll do the preview as we usually do. We'll talk about sort of the Wolves match. We'll talk a little bit more about like sort of the circumstances, obviously, and stuff that's going to come out of this, and any sort of, I guess, other news that sort of breaks for the day and stuff like that. And then we'll go blank for Sunday. And then we'll see each other on Monday. We're gonna do another watch along, and then another Red Devil recap, and it's gonna be a late one again because it's 8 p.m. UK time. So we'll be there. And again, just thanks for the support. Lyle says great therapy session. I think so, dude. I was very, but I wasn't. I said I wasn't gonna do the show today. I didn't have a plan to do it. I was gonna take a day off and do some other things, but I was in my kitchen and I was just so bothered, and I was just like, I need to go speak about this, and I need to go like vent this out and just like hear other people's ideas and thoughts and like just have a conversation about it. I was like, I can't. I was like, I'm getting agitated by the shit that's going on here. So it was. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, but appreciate you too, my friend. Appreciate everybody. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you for everybody that watched the stream silently or got involved in the chat. Greatly appreciate it. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want to go live after the football matches. So 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. UK time, probably 7:30 p.m. UK time. We'll go live. We'll do a little bit of a preview for Wolves, and we'll discuss any news that comes out, and then we go from there. So everybody have a good night. Thank you guys. Stay safe. Be good. Always appreciate the love and support. You guys are the best in the world, and I always appreciate it. So everybody be good, and we'll see each other tomorrow. Cheers, Eric, and all you Reds, says Lyle. Cheers to all of you. And